Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and thank you for being here. This is a little bit of an anniversary show tonight because 10 years ago tonight, one of the most important people in my life came into this world. Well, into my life at least. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight. We're going to break down aliens in the forest. Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good one. Yeah, we're glad all of you are here as well, because we can't do a show without all of you. It just doesn't work. All right, here we go. We got Tim Mothman and his goatee in the gold medal position. Race Fan with a silver. Wild Berry with a bronze medal tonight. Deidre, how are you? Lovely and talented Kira, you're amazing. Robert Lamoth, Chris 716, James Horn, good to see you all. Hi, Laura Lobbs, Dina Bravo, and Cosmic Joe, good to see you. Jack Clark, thanks for coming on in. Eternity Eternal. Simply Cocoa has returned. What's the drink of choice for tonight, Simply Cocoa? By the way, Simply Cocoa will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Brown Dwarf, Lisa C., Paramarv, nice to see you all. Melvin from Mars, welcome to... Oh, that's Rafin. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. Okay, Digger Dog, thanks for joining us. Hi, Asteroid. And Jenny White Bear, thank you for coming on in. Ginger Turtle, good to see you as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Luscious Jules, good to see you. John Lamb, Mama Catherine, mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful evening, and I can't wait to see you next month. Yeah, we're less than a month away, Mama Catherine. I'm so excited. Oh, I love her. All right, moving on. Let's continue on with our roll call, shall we? SJ, good to see you. Chris Teen, thanks for coming on in. And who else do we have here? Scrolling on down, we say hello next to, let's see here, River Morris. River Morris will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. W. David Page, thank you for kicking off this week's Super Chat. Very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. Don't forget, the Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much. Thomas Rock, Richard Elmore, thank you for joining us. King of Wacomundo, how are you, my friend? It's been a long time. Glad you're back. David Hayworth and Pam Harris, nice to see you both. Bobby McFerrin, good to see you. And Gizmo, my man. Magnus for Magnuson, how you both doing? Scrolling on down as we next say hello to Major Lee and Lisa C. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Nina Williams. Doc from Wyoming. Where you been hiding, Doc? Where you been hiding? All right. Well, let's say hello to Sparkles on Facebook and Little Pauline Byrne and Pooh the dog. Good to see you both. Hi, Pooh. How you doing? I think Dirty Filth has just come in. Yes, he has. Okay, Phil the Stalker, Mark Sanchez and his collection of Hawaiian shirts. Good to see you both. Purple-haired Pixie Lara. Good to see you. And where are we here? Aloha Dave, Richard Hauser. Good to see you guys. Marty Burback, thanks for coming on in. Dizzy F. and Reed, Phyllis Boucher Perry, thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. Toe tag. What's happening, my man? Scott Blight, Flat 6. Good to see you both. And where are we here? Big Dog, Rock and Rory. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Sandra Kincaid. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Tonight, Samantha Mowat joins us as we are looking into 10 years of aliens. Yeah, a special show for you tonight. We are in roll call. And there's Bill WD-40 lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, people. You never want rigidness. You need that smoothness. Oob to Joe's Main, you've got aliens. Yes, you do. And who else is joining us here? Audacious Amber, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Eva. And beer for Simply Cocoa. I love it, my dear. Christine Lynn, thank you for coming on in. We are caught up. Don't forget the super chat is open. We appreciate your love and support. And Pooh the dog is watching. Hi, Pooh. How are you? I love Pooh the dog. Oh, I saw him earlier. Make me happy. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of fun tonight. It's been a decade today that I met Samantha Mowat, and we're going to talk about our amazing experiences and share them with you tonight. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing joins us. And following that, on assignment, Courtney Marcassani will be taking the night off. Nicole Sasquatch will join us for UFO Court. All right, usually I prepare a script for the introduction of our guest, but tonight I'm going to do it a little bit differently, because at 2:00 this afternoon, it was 10 years ago where this lovely pixie redhead named Samantha Mowat came into my life. And I never thought at 40 years old that I would, at the time, that I would meet such an important and valued person in my life. She has become one of my best friends. She is a friend of my family's. She is a friend of my children. She is somebody who I've laughed with, I've cried with, somebody who I have literally came to when I have been through my highest of highs and my lowest of lows. Samantha, 25 minutes after meeting us, her and I had an experience of a lifetime, and it has continued since then, and we're here to share those stories with you. When you meet somebody like Samantha Mowat, never mind the experiences, the aliens, the UFOs, or whatever, but when you get to meet somebody like her, you know she is a friend for life. You know that she's a type of person that no matter what, whether you need a good butt kicking or whether you need a pat on the back, she is going to be the one who gives it to you. She is that type of friend. She is a role model, even though I'm much older and much more unattractive than her. Okay. I will tell you this. I have never, ever in my life met somebody like her that has impacted me the way she has. And I'm so thankful that she is a friend of mine. and that she comes on this show and she is able to expand her experiences with our audience. I'm going to bring her on right now because I'm about to get emotional. I really am about to get emotional, and I love her to death. Samantha Mowat, it is a pleasure to have you here. And it's hard to believe that it's been 10 years since
Yeah.
you and I met. And what an introduction it was.
Yeah, it was pretty fun, Dave. The last decade's flown by.
And you know what's funny? Our good friend Pascal Lachance is in our
Yeah.
chat room on YouTube.
Aw.
Bonjour, Pascal. How are you, my friend?
Yeah.
Yes. So here's the story.
Yeah.
It was 10 years and 5 days ago that I had, and I mentioned this on this show, that I had an incredible UFO landing at the farm.
Mhm.
A farm where we used to hang out with people and of the same ilk as us, that they had a lot of interesting encounters that
Mhm.
were happening on that place. They had ghosts, they had spirits, they had
Mhm.
sprites, they had pixies, they had fairies, they had Sasquatch, they had
Yeah.
the UFOs and the aliens. And
Mhm.
on this day, 10 years ago, I hadn't really slept in 5 days because of that UFO encounter on the ground.
Mhm.
And we were told to come over the day before because there was this lady coming over named Samantha. And
Mhm.
she's a lifelong ET contactee, and we had to meet her. And that's how we met. Just that
Yeah.
simple. You remember
Mhm.
that day?
I do. We were lucky to have some tea at our mutual friend's house before we ended up going outside, and I got to meet your family. It was a lot of fun. Our kids kind of played together, and mine were very interested in yours because he was so tiny at the time.
Right?
Yeah, it was really cute.
It was very cute. And
Yeah.
then after about 25 minutes of meeting,
Mhm.
you picked up on me like that, like a
Yeah.
snap of a finger, and you saw that I was pacing around the house. I had no interest in what you ladies were talking about. I just wanted to go outside to try and figure out what had happened 5 days previous. And we told you the story about what
Mhm.
happened. And then you were like, hey, can I go outside with you?
Mhm.
And so
That's
we
right.
did. And so we walked behind the house into the big yard, which was 10
Mhm.
acres at a former horse field. And I was
Mhm.
showing you where that UFO had landed and was communicating with me on the
Mhm.
ground. And you started picking up the energy of that craft.
Well, it's very easy. Anyone who's empathically inclined or very sensitive to energies can feel the energetic disruption or the energetic residue left by something like a craft. So even many of your audience members, Dave, they'd be able to pick up on the subtle differences between a craft where it has physically landed in a location versus the energy of the places around it.
So I'm showing you where the craft is, and we kept looking around because I remember telling you that I thought the craft had dropped something off for me, and I
Yeah.
just couldn't find it. And we were trying to pick up energy on where it may be,
Mhm.
but we never did find what it
No.
was, if there was anything there at all,
Mhm.
and I just found that to be real interesting.
Well, Dave, it might be worth considering that what they had put in that location was actually to bring you back into that spot. They could have left energy in that area to draw you back to that location to simply have the fake time encounter that we had during the day we met.
Well, I mean, that is very, very interesting indeed, because
Mm.
I thought it was going to be something physical, something that
Yeah.
I could pick up like a crystal or a rod or a piece of metal or something along those lines, but it
Mhm.
wasn't. It
No.
wasn't. It was something different.
Well, in all due fairness, looking at all of the contact history that humanity has had, most people who do end up getting artifacts from craft or that belong to the ETs themselves often find those artifacts go missing just quite randomly and unexpectedly. So even though you were not able to get the object you were hoping for, I do think you got something better.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I got a lifelong friend out of it,
that's
and
good.
it led us to the forest. But the funny part about it is
Mm.
the neighbor who lived beside them, their dog always came over to the farm where the farm dog
Shadow.
was.
Yeah.
And then I brought my 2 dogs over. So we had 4 dogs
Mhm.
running around with us. My little Zero, a Chihuahua
Yeah.
dachshund, who had to take 100 steps to every other dog's like 5 or 6. And then we had my dog Doug there.
Mhm.
And the funny part about it was you started picking up on things quite quickly regarding this. And this
Mhm.
this is my recall. I'm going to tell you my recall, and then if yours differs, I know we're going to have a little bit different recollection of what's going on because
Mhm.
everybody's recollection is a little bit different. But this is what I remember. I remember you and I looking around, and we're after about 10 minutes in the back, and all of a sudden you came really close to me, about 18 inches away, and you said to me, "Hey Dave, do you want to go into the forest?" And when you said that, I immediately knew there was something that was going to happen there. I didn't want to believe it was alien, but I knew there was something going in there. And I remember saying to you, "What the hell?" But I used a different word. I said, "After what happened the other night, I'm up for anything pretty much." And then you said something about, we're going to see something, right? Like you were so matter of fact. And I went, "Yep, I know." And then you said something strange to me that caught me off guard. You said, "But from what I know, ETs don't like dogs."
Yeah.
And you immediately started to try and push the dogs to the house. Take me back there.
In all due fairness, Dave, prior to driving to come see you and to meet your wife and your family, when my children and I were driving out towards the farm, I did feel the presence of a craft up in the sky, and I had assumed it meant I would have an encounter later that night. And so when you and I were going into the woods and we could feel, well, I could feel the vibrations of the ETs being present, I knew that it was much deeper and more strong than just a craft that had landed several days prior. And that's why I was warning you about this. I could feel their vibration. It just, before things like a craft come into our reality, because often these are multidimensional beings that are traveling from their dimensional plane, changing their frequency to being onto ours, they will actually change the frequency of the area around it so they can have a more smooth transition. And that's what I was picking up on. And Dave, I want to warn you because it's completely reasonable for anyone to feel nervous or stressed or to just not want to have an experience if they are going to be meeting otherworldly or other dimensionally entities.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. But the dogs, we couldn't get the dogs back to the house.
No. In all due
I
fairness, do you
Go
know,
ahead.
Dave, I've had dogs, like I've had my two dogs for the last several years, and they're wonderful, a German Shepherd and an Aussie Shepherd. And those things follow me everywhere. And I think it's because of contact. It creates anxiety in animals where if they are animals that have frequent extraterrestrial multidimensional contact occurring on a property with their humans or the humans that are around, I think they're more protective. And so they didn't want to leave us alone because I bet they could feel it too. That's my
Oh, yeah.
speculation. Yeah.
And and it just seemed like they were really excited because
Yeah.
after the dogs wouldn't leave us alone,
Hmm.
I remember saying, "Well, let's just see how it goes."
Yeah.
And you took the lead, and you and I were kind of walking, having small talk towards going to the fence line where the farmland met the forest. And I remember you asked me just simple
Hmm.
questions. Have you ever seen any ETs before? Do you think you've been taken before? And you
Hmm.
know, uh, it was, and I was telling you about my UFOs, and then we got to the fence, and all
Yeah.
4 dogs were waiting at the fence. And as we got closer to the gate there, all 4 dogs ran into the forest.
Hmm.
And
I
then,
remember.
and then you and I start walking in, and we're still making small talk, and we're looking
Yeah.
how it's like a wall of trees in there where it's such a heavy canopy, but underneath it was just open ground of trails and luscious trees and everything, and it was just beautiful in there. But we got about
Yeah.
50 feet in, and I don't know if you know this or not, but one thing I've learned about hanging out with you, all the times I have, you get when something happens or is about to happen, you get this really perplexed look on your face,
Yeah.
and you looking
Probably.
around. And I remember you doing this. This is the first time I saw it. I remember you doing this and saying, Dave, where are the dogs?
Hmm. But it was right around that time. I can't recall if it was right before. I think it is, where I had walked off to that side trail going along the ravine, and you had called me back because you guys had seen a Sasquatch in that region within the month or two before that. And I felt compelled to walk that way because I was feeling the energy of the beings. And when I had come back towards you, Dave, I believe that's when I was standing beside you and asked you where the dogs were because they hadn't followed me.
Yeah, and the dogs were just gone.
Yeah, we didn't hear them leave. We didn't see them leave, so
No, no, didn't see them leave at all.
mm-mm.
So, like stupid people in a horror movie, we keep walking and
Yeah.
we walk probably another 50 to 100 feet into the forest. And then you jump up on a stump and
Yeah.
you're looking around and you have that perplexed look on your face again.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm just walking ahead of you along the trail, and I'm about 18 inches from you again. And you said, Dave, I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to look that way. And you pointed north
Hmm.
and tell me what you see. And that's where I basically said, Samantha, what the heck is that? Samantha, what the heck is that? What the heck is that, Samantha? What the heck is that? Because standing in front of us, about 200 feet away in the middle of the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Mission, British
Hmm.
Columbia, in the
Yeah.
middle of the forest while the kids are in school and people are at work,
Yeah.
there is a 10 to 12-foot extraterrestrial standing there staring back at us.
Yeah.
And how did you know? Like, did you see it when you jumped up on that stump?
Well, I'm not very tall, Dave. I certainly couldn't see it very well before. I'm only 5'3". Like, I'm not a very tall person by any means. And so going up on that stump gave me the extra, about foot and a half, 3 feet, somewhere in there. I can't remember. I didn't think to measure the stump. To give me a better ability to see what was going on around us. And that's also why you noticed me looking around a whole bunch, is I could feel the energy of it, but I couldn't pinpoint where it was exactly. And that's why when I had looked ahead and I had seen it, you got to remember, we were looking at an Andromedan being. And the Andromedan beings that we were looking at have a very almost like murky kind of coloring to them. They have this brown with tones of gray, and it can be like varying tones of brown too. And so, looking at it from a distance, when you're seeing a very tall, thin being that doesn't have hair, it's not wearing clothing, it can be mistaken for a tree or a stump. You can easily mistake stuff like that. If you're just gazing very quickly like this, it's easy to miss it. And that's why you saw me scanning our horizon multiple times. I also didn't want to freak you out because if I said, oh my God, Dave, there's an alien like this, you would have been really scared, right?
I would have, I
Yeah.
totally, but at what point did you, when you jumped on that stump, at what point
Yeah.
did you see it?
I don't know. I think I had scanned looking around first. I think I missed it the first time. But I think I felt, if I'm not mistaken, I think I had felt it looking at me, and that's what compelled me to look back at it.
So did it call for you?
No, I don't recall hearing it call in my head, requesting us to come forward. I felt an energetic pull towards that region. When I was walking on the side trail, the one that was off to the left towards the ravine and the other neighboring properties, that if I'd followed that path, it would have led me very close to where that being was standing. Except if I'd walked down the trail, it would have been off to my right-hand side instead of being directly in front of me. And you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you saw it and then you stopped
Mhm.
me in
Yeah.
order to kind of get this thing going,
Mhm.
I remember you stating to me that as we
Mhm.
stared and I was going through that, I don't know if you were staring at the beings or if you were watching me, because
Both.
I was I was looking back on it and looking through it. I was scared, but I
That's
wasn't
okay.
scared of the being. I was scared of the fact that I'm 40 years old, and at
Yeah.
this point in time, nobody told me how to react when you see an extraterrestrial standing right in front of you. It's not that I didn't believe in the phenomenon. It's not that I didn't believe in ETs, but you expect this stuff to happen at night, and it's a
Yeah.
brief glimpse. And here we are in the middle of the day. It's a blue sky out, not a cloud in the sky, the perfect spring day. It's
Yeah.
warm. And I don't know you at this point. I've only known
Mm.
you for about 25 minutes. And here I
Yeah.
am having this life-altering encounter. And I remember thinking, to explain to people and to paint a picture, when we grow up, we have this invisible rule book, this rule guide that is set by our
Yeah.
family, our parents, our sisters, our brothers, our cousins, our aunts and uncles, our grandparents, our teachers, our coaches, everybody who plays a major role in our life helps set the rule book for each person.
Mm.
And I'm going through this rule book saying, where the hell are the aliens? There's no aliens in here. What the heck am I supposed to do with these aliens? And that is what freaked me out.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see the second being. You
That's
did.
okay.
And
But
go ahead.
I was going to say, in all due fairness, Dave, that's a pretty overwhelming experience. So to even look towards the first being and to be looking at it, that can be pretty overwhelming. You won't necessarily think to look in the peripheral of what's around that being. That's understandable.
Well, it was a heck of an introduction, considering here I think aliens are these little gray dudes with big black eyes,
Yeah.
maybe 4 feet tall. And here I
Yeah.
am dealing with a 12-footer that's tan in color. I can't see
Yeah.
the arms. I can't see the legs. I see the head. The head is about the size of 18 bowling balls,
Not quite, but bit of a hyperbole.
Yeah, I may have exaggerated that a little bit, but the head was the size of one of those giant carnival
It was
balloons.
big. It was quite big, yeah.
And there it is, staring at us.
Yeah.
And then the one starts telepathically communicating to you.
Yes, it did.
We got 2
Initially, they wanted us to walk towards them, and with good reason. That was the whole reason they were there, were to make an introduction and to say hello.
This is where I remember you telling me something, one of the most chilling things I've ever heard in my life.
Mm.
You said, Dave, they want us to come over. You were in like robot mode, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so if you know Samantha at all, you will know that when she starts channeling or talking to extraterrestrials, she kind of goes into this robot mode where her voice tone doesn't change because she's communicating, and it's like channeling.
Yeah.
And so Samantha starts
Mhm.
saying to me, Dave, they want us to come over and say hello.
Yeah.
They're not here to harm us. They're not here to take us. However, they are worried about the man's health.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it, there was only you and me in that forest.
Yeah.
Unless a bunch of the skeptics who think this story is full of crap were hiding in the trees watching us, right? But no, there was only 2 of us in the forest, and I definitely know you're not a man. No offense, but I know that. So
I
I
don't
knew,
identify as a man, no.
right. So I knew they were talking about me,
Yeah.
and that's when I started to panic.
Well, you got to look at it from their perspective. Dave, this was probably the same group that you had encountered 5 days prior to this. They clearly either looked at it, either they were the exact same group, or it's a group who were aware of you having this experience 5 days prior and were interested in you and your curiosity in regards to the craft that you had just seen with our mutual friend at the time, and wanted to make an introduction to see how you would react and how you'd handle it. This group I have been dealing with for a long time. They already knew me. And so for them to look, you got to remember, as soon as they see us, they're paying attention towards our energy bodies, our physical bodies, the psychic information we're releasing, our telepathic streams, our verbal streams, because sometimes what people say versus what people think can be 2 very different things.
We're going to continue this story, Aliens in the Forest 10 years ago. Samantha Mowat on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We will be right back.
Jazzy.
You know what I would love?
What's up?
I would love for Pascal to
Yeah.
join us in the
Oh, yeah.
forest here.
Oh, that'd be
Oh,
fun.
Pascal, we got a weekend for you to come up here. Hey,
Isn't
blob alert,
Pascal?
everybody. Blob
Oh,
alert.
nice. Is it a kitty?
That is Blob the cat.
Oh, I love it.
We have a blob alert, everybody.
Hi, baby.
Look
Oh,
at her.
so pretty. Look at you. Oh, look at the stripes.
Yeah, she's checking out the artistry of Dirty Filth, making sure everything is A-okay. And she's checked it out and she's gone.
That's cute. I love
Bloody
it.
hell, Dave, you scared her off.
I didn't scare her off.
I know. She's expecting snacks, but she got snacks before the show, so it's not happening.
Oh,
She
maybe
wants
she needs more snacks.
She'll get snacks after the show. Gotta have
That's
a
fair.
little in between here.
Gotcha.
See, the audience agrees. Samantha is so pretty.
Thank you. But I like how this picture is going. The white little spacecraft that we see coming. That one's really cute.
There's always got to be a UFO.
Oh, of course.
It's playoff times, though, so Sasquatch is getting ready for playoffs.
How about that ass kicking the Oilers put on San Jose tonight?
Missed it. Was it good?
Last I checked, it was 9-1 Edmonton.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I don't watch them because I'm bad luck for sports.
Oh, it ended up 9-2.
Gotcha.
Big J, how you doing? Glades Creature, welcome to SOR chat. And who else is here? Let's see if we got a toe tag. Thank you very much, my man. And who else? We got Beelzebrad. Has a devil put aside for me? For me? For me! Thank you. And we're still waiting on Pascal to say whether or not he's going to join us up here.
Well, I wouldn't mind going out to where Pascal is and also seeing what kind of ETs we can have in that area.
Yeah. Road trip. Road trip
so.
to the Okanagan. Turbo Tone, how you doing, my man?
Yeah.
Yeah. And whew.
If you go to the Okanagan, you got to go see Nessie as well.
Oh, that damn sea monster. Pascal, the last weekend of June. And we're going back tonight.
Good.
Merle wants to sleep there.
I do too.
You guys are twisted.
I know. We'll bring glow sticks. Actually, I saw at Costco that they have trail cams on sale. I was thinking we'll get a tent. We'll all sleep in the same tent. We'll set up a bunch of trail cams outside, and we'll invite them around and see who the flying turtles comes to visit us. How fun would that be?
Well, but I have 2 trail cams.
Okay, I can grab one or two.
And I know Mark has a couple as well. No, we're not going to Mission, Pascal. You got to come up here. We have a hot spot for you. We have a hot spot.
If we do that, I will invite everybody in and see what we can get. But I want to have them at different heights and I want to have them at different depths. That way we can see. And hopefully they don't get them all. Pardon me.
This is directed at Pascal, but everybody else could listen. In hour number 2, we're going to get into what happened in the forest here last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely crazy. And Pascal, we almost did disappear last time. They showed, without giving anything away, it happened in daylight, Pascal.
Again.
With
a bigger group.
Yes. There were 7 of us there.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you counted.
Yeah. Well, 2 cameramen, 1 director, 1 bodyguard, and Yumi and Merle.
Yeah. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would be all for even doing 2 nights there if need be.
You guys are crazy. Absolutely crazy. I'll go. I hate tenting with a passion. Jason, thank you to Jason and to W. David Page and to Pascal ×2 and to Science Bob and Toe Tag for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support of SOR, everybody. It's so helpful what you guys do. And if you're new here, please hit subscribe, ring that bell, and you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Nothing. And B, how are you? Good to see you. And we're going to get going in 5 seconds. Well, yeah, 3 seconds. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's all about alien encounters. Samantha Mowat is our guest. We'll bring her back here momentarily. I want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our archives. We always keep them free for you. You can go to any major podcast network or on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, KPNL, or youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. So we are celebrating on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It is the 10-year anniversary of myself meeting Samantha Mowat and our alien encounter in the forest. Yeah. Just be prepared that if you ever meet Samantha and she says, "Do you want to go in the forest?" You're going to see aliens.
Maybe.
100%. Guaranteed, like the best car warranty you can ever purchase. This is Samantha. She's got the alien warranty in hand when she says, "Come into the forest with me." Samantha, welcome back.
You make it sound like I'm going to get people abducted and probed and never come back.
Well, it happens. Hey, it happens. You know, some people got aliens. Some people got aliens forever. You know?
Okay.
It happens. So
I love it.
here we are. We're meeting the aliens in the forest.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial that is a
Mhm.
tan color. And it's a tan that it's almost like when you put too much cream in your coffee. It's like that brownish white. And that's what color I'm looking at. But you see a second alien in the
Yes, I
forest,
can.
like a gray. Explain him to us.
It wasn't a gray. It was the exact same species and the exact same coloring, but they did have a lot of similarities, very similar to the grays in the sense that their bodies were svelte or petite in frame. They didn't have a lot of muscular tone to them. They had very narrow shoulders, very long limbs, quite exaggerated as far as the distance between their shoulder blade and their elbow is concerned, especially in relation to us. So one was standing slightly behind and beside the other one. So if one of them is here, the other one's like here, where it's kind of like back and behind. So this one was the one that we were communicating with, who was being more direct with us, focusing on your health, being very courteous and considerate. The other one looked like it was allowing the first one to take the lead.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So here he was. I never saw where he was standing. Was he near the
Mhm.
other being?
I would say within a few feet of it.
Never saw him.
That's okay. Not a big deal.
Yes. So you
Mhm.
decide that you want to walk down the trail towards these ETs.
Yeah.
And
I got off the stump and I started walking towards them.
you were egging me on, saying, "Come on, let's go. This is going to be
Yeah.
fun." And that's where I kind of lost it. And I went, "No, I'm not going. We don't know." I remember saying to you, "We don't know what these creatures are, what they're going to do to us. I saw fire in the sky. I know what happened. And I'm not walking back to that house alone because I am suspect number one."
In all due fairness, Dave, I'd known these species for a long time. I've had lots of encounters with them. I felt very safe with them. But I understand where you're coming from. They always look at who was the person last seen with, and now here you are going to jail because I got abducted by aliens and no one's going to believe you. I get
No
it.
one's going to believe old Davy at that point.
No,
You know?
that's okay.
And so you decided,
Yeah.
after me begging, literally, I was about to get on my knees and beg. You decided to, for safety and my own potential heart attack that I was going to have out there, you
Yeah.
decided to stay with me. Why did you make that choice?
Because I didn't want to have to go back to your wife and your son and be like, hey, I'm so sorry. He died of a heart attack. That doesn't go over too well either. So it is easier to not do these things. It's not a very dignified answer, but it is the truth of the matter. I didn't want to put you in a compromised position, and I didn't know, to be very honest with you, if these beings cared enough for you to be willing to resuscitate you or to take care of you. So I wasn't willing to take that risk.
How did you know that they were peaceful, that they weren't going
Because
to harm us or take us? Why did you take them at their word?
when one thing I want for everyone in your audience to take into consideration, when you are meeting anybody, whether it's a being, a human, whatever, it doesn't matter, always feel their vibration because we're always reading energy, whether we're conscious of it or not. And the energy being emitted by these beings felt as though it was peaceful. I could feel as though they had no negative intentions towards us. It felt as though they simply wanted to have an interaction. And in the same way, Dave, when you met me, you felt safe within my presence. You felt as though I was a safe person to share your encounter with, to go into the woods with. You could just feel that right away. And as a point of contrast, I would like for you to think about you or even everyone in your audience, think about someone that you've met in the past who right away you felt something off about them. You felt as though you either couldn't trust them or you shouldn't be left alone with them or whatever it was. You can feel the vibrational difference between someone who you can trust versus someone that you can't. And it's the same thing being said with these beings. I read their energy and it felt like I could trust them. So when they said that we were safe and they had no ill intention, I believed them. That's why.
Well, I think you were right on that, you know?
Yeah.
And so you decided to stay with me,
Hmm.
and we just kind of marveled at what we were looking at. And I
Yeah.
remember starting to calm down and
Hmm.
just take it all in and just be thankful for
Yeah.
this amazing encounter for what it was. And I remember the big guy changing color,
I
going
did
from
see
that.
that.
Yeah, he went from that coffee brown with too much cream into like a quarter horse type color.
Chances are he was in your head and changing his appearance. A lot of ETs will do that as well to try to put on a form that is more either appeasing to you or that you are more comfortable with. That is a very common theme within many encounters that people have.
Well, that's what I remember.
Yeah,
And then after about 15, 20 minutes of staring at these guys,
yeah.
you and I pretty much at the same time got this feeling that we needed to go to a different part of the forest where we were
Mhm.
going to see more ETs. So I
Yeah.
remember, as weird as it sounds, and we
Mhm.
waved at those two and said, "Thank you and goodbye. We're going to go over here now."
Yeah.
And we walked over to that other area and we stood there for about 10 minutes. And I
Mhm.
never, you would see like tree branches falling or chipmunks or
Mhm.
squirrels running around, but you could feel the presence of those
Yeah.
other ETs there, but to me, they didn't make themselves known. And I
Yeah.
don't recall if you saw any there or not.
No, I don't recall seeing any, but we could feel their vibrations being around us. They were fairly encircled around us at a larger perimeter, just observing, seeing what we were discussing, how we were feeling, how we were post interaction. It was simply an observational capacity, which is fine. They just wanted to see how we would handle having more of them around.
So after about 10 minutes,
Yeah.
We back off and we go back to the original spot, and those guys
Mhm.
are gone.
Yeah.
How do you think they left?
Probably just teleported, more likely either teleportation or left through an orb out towards a craft. Very easy to have a craft hanging up above the tree line and then just come down through other form of teleportation or through orb technology. They're the most common means that ETs use for going short distances. We didn't see a craft leave, we didn't feel a craft leave, so it's more
No.
likely they just went onto a craft.
The interesting part for me is that was the
Yeah,
second time in 5 days where a
yeah.
craft had left with no sound.
Yeah. But do you remember when our encounter was happening? And even prior to the encounter, I don't believe we heard really any planes. But after we had our encounter with the beings and we went to the secondary location and returned to the first location, the presence of planes really picked up again on both an auditory level and a visual level.
True, I'd forgotten about that.
We had discussed it, and you are someone who's very passionate about flights and aviation, and you talked about enjoying watching planes, and that's the reason why that note stood out in my mind.
Yes, because Mission British Columbia, where this incident happened,
Yeah.
you learn the plan very quickly. Planes
Mhm.
flying into Vancouver always are on the north side of Mission,
Yeah.
or the mountains, before coming in and turning around over the Cascade Mountains to turn into YVR and
Mhm.
land. Planes flying out of Vancouver fly south of Mission. So
Yeah.
Mission is kind of in between. So whether they're heading to Toronto or Chicago or New York, they're all flying east past or south of Mission. So
Yeah.
you have this interaction. And you're right. I don't recall hearing the sounds of any
Yeah.
airplanes during that time.
No, neither do I. So there's a very high probability that they put an energetic bubble up over the area that we were in to diminish the outside interference, whether it's people walking in without their awareness, because that is one thing a lot of ETs do, is they will put up almost like a dome of energy over a region. So if you're someone who has contact at home, and let's say your family gets abducted, quite often you'll notice if you wake up in the middle of the night prior to an encounter that you'll feel everything is almost eerily quiet, eerily still. And the same thing can be said if you're in the woods. They will put up a dome of energy in that region because it tells them if there are people coming into the region, if there's a bear coming or a cougar, they know exactly what's within that dome of energy, but they also can tell when things are coming in and what is the point of entry. So it stops things from the outside from being able to really see in and notice anything different, but also alerts them to what's going on in that region.
Okay, so when it
Mm,
leaves, like
yeah.
would there not be any radar or anything that could pick up that dome of protection? Because that would take a lot of energy.
Not necessarily. It depends on the frequency that they're using. If it was able to be picked up by a radar, let's say the ones like almost every military base uses, we would see these popping up all over cities and towns all the time because ET abductions or contact experiences are happening in almost every city in the world every day to different people. So I don't believe it is picked up on by the well-known technology that our typical military or Air Force personnel have.
Interesting. Okay. So we
Mm,
decide to walk back
mm,
to the house,
yeah.
and we walk through the forest, and I'm absolutely blown away, amazed by what's happened. And
Mm,
you're kind of like, yeah, that was really cool. And I'm like, cool, that was the best thing, that's happened in my life, you know? And as we approach the gate to the farm, all
yeah.
four dogs come running out to greet us.
Mhm.
Do you think that the ETs kind of told them to shoo, go away? You're not
Yeah.
wanted here right
I honestly think it was probably easier for them to find something to distract the dogs and to bring them to a different area. I believe that's what happened in this situation, rather than trying to take four dogs and make it so all four were in a catatonic state and out cold. I believe that would have been very difficult for them to do, given the level of excitement the four dogs were holding on to. So it was easier to remove them from the general region they were in.
now. We start to walk back and we get back into the middle
Yeah.
of the field. And this is where our stories kind of go a little bit different, because to me, it was clear as day what you said. And I even remember you got mad at me at one point for
Yeah.
saying this. But to me, it was clear as day when we stopped in the middle of the farmyard,
Mhm.
and you said to me point blank, "Have I?" You asked me if I had ever been abducted before, and I
Yeah.
said no. And you told me, and I don't believe you had any recollection of actually saying this.
Mm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you saying to me, "Well, there's a good chance it's going to happen now."
Yeah.
And and then you said something strange, "But don't worry, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Just let them do their thing. They'll get you back and you're going to be fine."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay." Like, didn't
Mhm.
sign up for this. I'm like shaking my fist, Pascal Lachance, and
Yeah.
kind of doing that thing. But how come you don't why do you think it is you didn't remember having that conversation with me?
One thing you will find for a lot of people who end up doing psychic work, especially if you do any form of channeling, you will go into a different form of alter. So, an alter is an alternative state of consciousness where you go from one aspect of your personality and frequency to a different one where you're in a more receptive state to receive telepathic communication. When you are in your telepathic altered state, you don't necessarily remember what you're talking about. And that's why a lot of psychics, when they're giving information to people, don't necessarily recall what they're talking to their clients about. That's why. And so when you and I just finished having this experience with the ETs, and I was communicating with them and finding out about their concern for your heart attack, yet their interest for interacting with us and wanting to have a deeper contact experience, that is a lot of psychic energy that was modified around me. And I would still be in that psychic state and be coming down from that state, going back to a more normal state as we walked from the forest to the house. And that's why I do not recall that conversation, although it resonates, and that's how I know you're telling the truth.
So now we have that conversation, and little did I know that a few months later, I
Mm-hmm.
would have my first alien abduction encounter that I know of.
Yeah.
And, and during that encounter, I would hear your voice saying to me, "Don't worry, Dave. It doesn't hurt. Just let them do your thing." And immediately it started tickling.
Yeah.
Everything that they were doing started tickling. And I was just like, well, that worked quick. That's better than morphine.
So one thing I have found over the years, Dave, like I've been recording my contact experiences for a long time, not just on like my audio voice recorder, but also like typing them out so that I can analyze and really understand the contact nature of the human ET interaction. I have found that I've been present for quite a few of my friends and family members' ET contact experiences when medical or hybridization experiences are occurring. And so I could have been there. I don't know. I have been used as a form of liaison between humans and ETs to make it so the humans feel more comfortable, but they have also used my likeness and my voice to deal with some of the other people who have contact experiences that know me, who feel comforted with by me in my presence, as a means of almost like pretending to be me to get a human to be more compliant within the situation. So I'm not sure which one it is, but it is one of the two.
Did you know at that point that there was a good chance that I was going to be taken?
Yeah, you just had a physical encounter where you saw them in broad daylight. Of course, they're going to want to come take someone. They'd want to figure out who you are, why you're interacting with me, what it is that you're doing, why did this other craft come to see you? If they didn't already know you and have an interest in you, they would have developed one just from that situation alone.
Interesting.
Yeah, they are
Did they
very. Go ahead.
did they choose to come there with you, or were they there to meet me and using you as a liaison?
Both are possible. Without asking them directly, I'm not sure. If I were to speculate, I would assume that they wanted to have an interaction with you and possibly our blonde friend who was from the farm as well. There's a possibility for them wanting to have included her because she was present with you 5 days prior when you saw the craft.
Yeah.
And she had requested to come into the woods with us as well. However, you felt like that wasn't right, and I was just kind of going with the flow. But I do believe I was there in a liaison type capacity.
You said leading up to that, you
Mm,
felt the presence of craft in the
yeah,
vicinity as you were driving up to the farm.
that's right.
Did you expect that to happen there?
Not at the farm. Because I have a lot of physical encounters with the Andromedans, I was expecting to see them that night when I went home. Because if you were to look at where the farm is located, and then you look at where the townhouse that I was living in at the time was located, as far as the bird flies, that is very close in proximity. If you were to look down on a map, they're quite close to one another. And so when I felt craft earlier, or as I was driving and earlier that day, I felt as though it was more likely that myself and my children would be having an encounter when we went home because I had seen those Andromedan beings in the daytime at home many times before. I didn't at the time have the awareness that I'd be having an encounter with you or at that location until it happened.
Hmm. We got 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the
Yeah.
hour on Spaced Out Radio. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight. 10 years of aliens.
Yeah.
You have been bugging me for
Mhm.
up till last year about going camping, going into the forest. And you've said many a times on this show, you called me out and you said, Dave, let's just go camping. Let's just go
Mhm.
camping and we'll call them in. You make it
Invite
sound
them.
for a lot of people who don't know you, you make it sound like it's simple. Like you
It
just
is.
show up and aliens are there. But I mean, it isn't that simple for a lot of people because I've been in the forest and I've been like, hey, where's them aliens? And there are no aliens there, right? But
Yeah.
for the law of
Yeah, but
attraction is it's going to
no.
happen.
It's part of my job in this lifetime, Dave. These are part of my soul family. These are beings that I've had a lot of interactions with since birth. Doesn't matter where in the world I go, I have encounters with them and many different species of them. Camping is just one of the most common ways for me to have conscious physical contact with them. And that's why when people really want to have encounters and they really if I do feel as though I trust the person and feel as though they're not a danger to myself or not a danger to the beings, and I feel as though it resonates and the beings are interested, then I do make the suggestion, yeah, let's go camping, let's go hiking. But, not everybody likes the things that they see in the woods with me, or even some of my friends, they're kind of freaked out when they come and spend the night at my house. And, understandably so. Like I've told you many times over the years, my friend Vinka, first time I went to her house, and there's that small little Andromedan that popped up right beside me, and her dogs could see it, and she could see it, and she was freaked right out, understandably, in her basement suite apartment that was in Langley, in the middle of Vancouver. These ETs will still pop up. And it can be pretty overwhelming for people when they're not used to stuff like that. So, yeah, they do kind of show up all over the place with me, but sometimes it can be kind of frustrating having those kind of interactions with them. Sometimes I just want to be a normal person, and I don't necessarily want to deal with ETs or angels or guides. Even though it seems very fun and exciting, to you, for me, it's, when your dog really drives you crazy and it follows you around the house, and you're like, oh my Lanta, just give me some space for the love of Odin, give me some space. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've had those kind of conversations with them.
Samantha, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are through 1 hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We got 1 hour to go with Samantha. And I want to say this when we return Aliens in the Forest Part 2. It's happened again last year, last July. And we're going to get Samantha's take on aliens and Sasquatch. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear.
Woohoo. Nice and easy.
Let's
And
check out what Dirty Filth is doing here.
oh, that's good. Playoff Sasquatch. That's
Yes,
awesome.
beautiful. I'll be right back, Phil. Turn your mic on.
And I'm gonna leave you 1 minute to go get water, but Phil, that looks amazing. I love it. It looks so good.
Thanks, Samantha. I got it covered. I'll hold the fort for you guys.
1 sec, I'll be right back.
There we go. Zoom in a little bit on that sucker. That. Nice. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody. This is a great show. Great story. I actually drew a cartoon of Dave with 10-foot alien in the forest. I can't find it right now because it's buried under 10,000 cartoons. So eventually, it'll be in the second book. It should be out shortly after May. My web witch is on some sort of, I don't know, pilgrimage of some sort. It's top secret. I can't talk about it. So Hackmeister, Blob was already here, hung out for a bit, and then Blob left. Thanks, Pascal. Gave him an orange helmet because everybody had an orange helmet. I only ever witnessed it because I can't skate and it's too poor to play hockey. Which is good because, like I said, I can't skate. I can skate. I should clarify that I can skate forward. That's about it. I'm a terrible Canadian. 1 second here. Cryptid Brew. And the most important part of the cartoon is to make sure you always recycle your empties. It's very important. I have no idea where he gets the antennas from or the signal, probably from the UFO to catch the local sports team. Still needs a little more detail there. It's not to my satisfaction. Could make it a little more crusty.
Oh, that looks nice.
Just some
It's coming
little bit
along.
of fine tuning. There we go.
Do that. You're so creative with it. I don't think I'd be able to come up with something like that on the fly.
I've got like a backlog of cartoons that I've been drawing, so
Yeah. Is it just kind of what you do for fun, just to kind of keep your mind occupied?
well, that and people buy my books and my calendars and junk, so it's always nice.
Yeah, I like that.
I have one time paid for my rent with my art money. That was a long
That's
time
amazing.
ago. I did a lot of acrylic paintings and junk back then. Actually,
Mhm.
there's in Edmonton we have the White Ave Art Walk,
Okay.
and I will be there again this year. It'll be the second time I've been there.
Oh, that's exciting.
So it's
Congrats.
all, and Travis is going to be there as well.
Okay.
So
Very
we're
cool.
going to try to get a booth beside each other so we can totally talk about all the aliens and junk, and we'll probably bring some dice and play some D&D of some sort, or Pathfinder. He plays Pathfinder. But
D&D is fun. I like it.
I've never got to play his character. I've just been a lifelong dungeon master, so that's
That's
right.
fair.
It's okay because I like writing the worlds.
Do you? Oh, that's good. I find like my kids are into it, so I'm still kind of trying to figure it out, and they're of course teaching me new things that I'm not very good, but I certainly enjoy it.
Samantha, do you have a tent?
I do. I have a 8-person or a 10-person tent.
Well, that'll be big enough for all of us.
I think so.
And the
Yeah.
20 pounds of armament that we're going to take.
We're fine. We don't need to be scared. They'll never let anything happen to me, so they're not going to let like grizzlies or anything nearby. So
yeah, I'm not worried about the grizzlies. I'm worried about being taken by a Sasquatch.
why? They're really nice too. The ones I've met have been lovely.
I know. Ben Eubanks, how you doing? Hacky Mr. One, welcome to SOR Chat. And who else is joining us here? Christine Lynn, thank you for joining us. Pony Pong, thank you for coming on in. Tori Hunter on Twitch, good to see you. And Al Garay on Twitch, benching 400 pounds tonight, 27 times. Good job.
Nice.
Yep. JSCO, thanks for coming on in. And Pascal, you've got to come camping with us. Last weekend of June, my man. Last weekend of June. Oh, my God. You and Pascal together, we're going to get aliens. Paula Fost, how are you? And a big thank you to Pascal ×2, Jason, Toe Tag, Science Bob, and W. David Page for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. Hi there, Magnolia. Good to see you again. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag.
No.
You'll be proud to wear our stuff out in public and, you know, not use it for a painting the house t-shirt. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Pretty damn awesome. So we appreciate you tuning us in. So thank you. And that's it. Let's get going here.
Sounds good.
Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hey, I don't even know what this is. Hey, I'm going to spell it HAECCEITY. Haysity? Haysity? Yeah, that's your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the password is set by the Clam each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We're going to get to some audience questions here before we get going to our next story of aliens in the forest. Samantha Mowat is our guest. Samantha, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I'm having fun.
Oh, I know you always do. Let's start off with Paramarv here. Samantha, you mentioned thinking the Sasquatches that she met were lovely. Have you had interaction with Dogman? Are they as lovely as well, or not so much?
I've only met one being who seemed like it could be possibly something akin to a dogman, and that when I was astral projecting. I haven't met any dogman type beings in person. So the only one that I met, it seemed very protective of 3 children that it had with it, but it seemed considerate enough, but it didn't necessarily seem as though I would say lovely. It just felt like it was protective. I went into its area, which I didn't mean to when I was projecting. So you can meet almost anything in the astral or in the physical. So not necessarily, Marv.
All right, let's move to another one. Let's go to Melvin. Did the ETs say where they were from?
Some of them. A few of them have been kind enough to tell me where they're from. The Palladians that I interact with were, when I was younger, they told me they were my teachers, and that's when I went to school on craft, and they eventually told me they were from the Pleiades, and before that they were from Lyra. But the other ones that I've met, typically they don't. They will show star systems because they have different names for it, and then trying to look up the star systems to see what matches what they've shown is how I've kind of figured out the location of many of the beings that I have had interactions with. But only the Palladians have been saying, we are from the Pleiades, if that is what you mean.
All right, let's continue on here. Let us go to Dizzy. Samantha, how do you discern between aliens, non-human intelligence, or interdimensionals, and Earth-based elementals or cryptids? How can you tell the difference?
So one of the first things that you will do is you will look at so let's look at something that's say, if it's an ET, you'll look at the appearance, and same with any other type of being, you will look at what does it look like? Does it look like an Earth human? No. Okay, so what is it? And then you will look at other factors of it, like when it comes to being clairvoyant, typically you see auras, or I see auras, pardon me. So what that means is that I will look to see if something has an aura. If it does, that tells me, okay, it has a consciousness. If it doesn't have an aura, then that tells me it's like a form of robot or something like that. So there's that aspect to it. But when it comes to knowing whether something is extraterrestrial and multidimensional versus, say, something that is Earth based, normally when it comes to things like that, you have to go based upon intuition. I'm very lucky because often my guides will tell me this is from a different dimension or this is from a different planet. That is how I've come to discern whether things are more extraterrestrial and from this universe versus interdimensional. And that's the only reason why I see things like extraterrestrial and multidimensional beings, because there are some grays that are from our universe, but there are also some grays that are from other universes. Both are correct to say they're extraterrestrial and interdimensional, but having that variation and trying to pinpoint which it is at any given time is difficult if you don't have a moment to stop and ask the beings what they are. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I think it does. Let's go to Christine. Samantha,
Sure.
are you a starseed or similar?
Something, I would say something similar. I've had a lot of incarnations on Earth and a lot of incarnations on different planets and in different dimensions, ranging everything from Pleiadian to gray to light being to angelic being to being some really interesting things here on Earth. So depends on your definition. But I've kind of just been a traveler all over the place, universe wise.
All right, let's go to Sovereign here.
Sure.
Why do humanoid aliens always prefer to show their faces as cartoon-like pictorials instead of their real faces? Why the need to hide it, their ID?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand this question, Sovereign. So are you asking when it comes to things like when people are filming them, or do you mean when they see them in person? Because when you see them in person, they do not look pixelated or anything like that. And when it comes to technology, so what I want you to understand about a lot of the extraterrestrials and multidimensionals is they're operating at a different vibrational frequency than what we are and the things of this universe are. So let's say everything within our universe is operating between a vibration rate of 4 to 5, and everyone and everything from rocks, trees, cats, dogs, fish, water, humans are all within that 4 to 5 spectrum. A lot of these beings are coming from below that dimensional frequency and above that dimensional frequency. So when they're coming into our frequency, often they will have almost like an in-between frequency, which can cause distortions with everything from cameras to videos to all sorts of devices. Even security cameras don't necessarily get them accurate. And it does have to do with their frequency more than anything else.
All right, let's continue on with another question here before we get to our story
Sure.
time. And
Okay.
let's go to Super Crazy. Do you think the U.S. government has both aliens and cryptids like Bigfoot in captivity?
Yes, super crazy. I do believe they have both in captivity. I believe they've known about them for a long time. They've even made the public somewhat aware of the fact that the government has been doing this for a long time through releasing things that like that through the media, be it movies like Monsters versus Aliens, The X-Files. They've been telling us for a long time that they have this stuff. But it would also, from what I've learned from everything from the Greys to the other beings that I work with, they're very reluctant to deal with coming out to the public in a large capacity because they are very uncomfortable with many of the humans here because they don't necessarily have good intentions towards them, and our governments are included within that. They do have a very bad history of hurting and experimenting on these beings, so I don't blame them for avoiding them.
All right, let's get to
Sure.
last summer. This is where it gets fun. We decided to go on an adventure
Mhm.
with a couple of camera people. Merle was there. You were there. Myself was there. Tim Senor was there. Our bodyguard Mike was there.
Mhm.
And this was a 2-day adventure into
Yeah.
an area called Flight 21, where in 1965, 52 people passed away when the plane blew up in the sky. It's still Canada's largest unsolved mass murder. And that's something that we were very cognizant of. And on night number 1, we were driving in the early or late afternoon, early evening, getting great video of wild horses all around us. Man, they seem to be everywhere on the way in. And then we turned into the area where it takes us to the crash site, which is about 25 miles or 34 and a half kilometers outside of my town. And we pull in there, and you could feel the energy right off the bat. We were still about a mile and a half from the crash site, but you could feel the energy coming in. And the first thing that I remember was when all of us were kind of gathering, what we were going to do, the vehicles we were going to take in there, so on and so forth, was I heard a child clapping. And we all went running with the camera, trying to find it. We literally didn't see anything, but it was close. It was close. Don't know what that was.
Probably your clairaudience hearing one of the deceased children that resides within that area from the accident or the attack, however you wish to phrase it. That would be my speculation.
We make our way to the area. We have to run my Jeep back and forth because it's just it was the only vehicle that we could get in and out of that area safely, which was all right, and I don't mind that. So we get there. What was your first thoughts of being there?
Well, when we first turned off of the main dirt road onto the secondary dirt road, I remember feeling the energy of the region that was around us, and I had warned you guys that there was a very good chance that we would be seeing extraterrestrials and multidimensionals that weekend because I had invited them and had spent the last month asking for them to show up. And so I was more fixated on what the energy was like in the region that you had driven us up to as you were doing your trips back and forth between supplies and people. I noticed that the energy, although we were in a very remote location, it did feel very protected, Dave. It did feel like a very safe area. And it felt as though I remember discussing with Merle feeling the Aboriginal people that were within that region who were crossed over as well. It felt like it was very protected by them, not just the spirits of them, but almost like it was like they were there for healing that region as well.
Yeah, it felt like a very protected, but very heavy. The energy is very heavy. Anybody who's a lot in the paranormal world will understand what I mean by that. Like, it's very somber.
Yeah, that's a very fair way to say it. One thing that really stood out to me is it felt like there were a lot of different types of beings that were present nearby. I remember feeling the energy of some elementals being present. I remember feeling as though we were being watched, but not in a negative way. I didn't feel like when you walk into the woods, if you're someone who does a lot of hiking, mushroom picking, hunting, whatever, you kind of know what it's like to feel the animals, especially when they're watching you. And it felt like we did have animals observing us, but it didn't feel like we had any grizzlies or black bears or cougars or moose nearby. Like none of that felt like it was anywhere near us. But it did feel like we had a lot of spiritual energy nearby. And that was kind of unexpected given the amount of horses we had just seen a short while before.
Yeah, very true. Very true. As we set up camp for filming that first night, and we get to the night turning or the day turning to night, it starts to get a little eerie in the forest. And Merle makes the decision that he wants to walk deep into the forest right in the dark.
Yeah.
I didn't really agree with that. You were kind of for it, but a little bit unsure. And Tim basically said, "Hey, let's do this. This is going to make great content." So we walked to the area because the reason why this area is special, we went there, number one, was because back in 2018, Merle, myself, and a good friend of mine, Mark, got chased out of the forest by a couple of extraterrestrials. Sorry, not extraterrestrials, Sasquatch. And we had found in my investigation back there, we had found the trail that the Sasquatch snuck up on Merle.
Mm.
And so as it went into night, we started putting glow sticks in the trees so that way we could find our way back. And even with those glow sticks, it was still tough to find our
Yeah.
way back. I mean, that's how.
Surprising. Yeah.
Yes. And here's where I found it interesting. We come across this meadow.
Yeah.
And we decide to set up some investigation in the meadow because you and Merle, and I believe Richie and Tanner, the cameramen,
Yeah.
started hearing voices
Yeah,
in the
we
forest.
did.
What happened there?
Well, they were disembodied voices. So that's where you can be hearing them almost like in your head, and you're not sure if it's in your head or if it's around you. And I remember talking to them saying, "Hey, do you hear that? Do you hear that?" And as we were doing that, we were hearing everything from men to women, and the energy around us was so different, Dave, because it didn't feel like, here's the thing, like, I know the vibrations of a lot of different species. That is part of my job, is to be able to recognize what this feels like versus that. And some of these were so different. It didn't feel like dead people that we normally interacted with. And it didn't feel like extraterrestrials. It felt like we couldn't quite pinpoint who it was or what direction it was coming from. And so between the psychic abilities of myself and the psychic abilities of Merle, we were excited, but almost like, when kids are like, spooked but excited. We were in that kind of vibration. I remember you weren't quite thrilled and we're like, "Hey, look, let's stop here and set up and see what we can hear." I remember you wanted to get out of that area, and with good reason, because you were probably picking up on other things that we were missing. But
Well,
it's,
then
yeah,
Merle started seeing the giant shadow around us,
okay.
which set Mike, our bodyguard, off quite quickly.
Yeah,
And
he was excited.
he was excited. But one
Yeah,
of the things Merle did is he asked whatever that shadow was, and it was probably a 6 to 7 foot shadow.
yeah.
He asked it to go walk past the closest tree with a glow
Close
stick on
head.
it,
Yeah,
pull it down. I'm the one who put the glow stick on the tree.
yeah, you did.
Okay. And Merle watched that glow stick get pulled down about a foot and a half.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that being, whatever it was, ran away.
Yeah, it was
And
interesting. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, do you remember all the sticks cracking too? Like we kept hearing like sticks cracking all around us, and we're like, we don't see any animals. There's nothing occurring within the weather or within the environment that would be causing sticks to be breaking. In like, this isn't like teeny little sticks cracking. Sometimes it was bigger sticks, sometimes it was like medium-sized sticks, and we were just kind of trying to figure out where these sounds were coming from. It was really interesting to have this many people looking in different directions and paying attention, and to still not be able to figure out what was happening around us.
And that is a very good point right there,
Yeah.
because those sticks that were cracking were loud.
Yeah.
And we kept on putting the flashlights up. We all had flashlights.
Yeah.
We were all looking for some sort of eye shine or movement. We saw
Yeah.
nothing.
No.
Okay. And it was getting eerie. So we decide to go back to the campsite after the glow
Hmm.
stick. What do I call base camp?
Sure.
And we're looking around and we decide that we're going to do the Estus method with me.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I sit myself up on a log, and the feelings are getting really, really strange around there. Like it
Yeah.
just, where we are, it just seems like we have an audience that we can't see.
Yeah.
And those stick breaking kept on
Hmm.
happening all around us.
Yes, it
So I
did.
sit down on this log to do the Estes method, which is keeping a blindfold on. You want to add something?
No, I just wanted you to explain what it was, so please continue.
Okay, so the Estes method is where you wear a blacked out eye patch, like one of them sleep at night type of eye covers that
Hmm.
seals to your head. There's no external light getting in. It's pitch black. And then you wear noise canceling headphones so you can't hear anything outside of a radio signal going tick, 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 with radio static going in. Now, in our area, there's no radio stations to pick up from that area. So all you're hearing is static. Now, the thought about it is Mike would stand away from me. He would ask questions, and we're hoping to get the spirits to say something on the radio signal, but I never heard anything. Nothing ever talked. But I kept seeing this white orb right beside my face. And it was so bright inside this eye patch cover that I was wearing that I was actually squinting. And then I started seeing gray alien heads and then reptilian eyes. And when I was seeing that orb, I stopped and I said, I'm not getting any voices or anything, but this is what I keep seeing. And then somebody tapped Tim on the shoulder to look up. And at that point, Tim pointed the camera up, and there was this white orb slowly flying by right over top of us. Coincidence, Samantha?
Well, it could be, but he did have this really interesting device that he was using to look at the night sky. And I'm not sure what the device is called, but he did let me look. Thank you. He did let me look through it. And it was round and put a green tinge on everything, and it gave it a night vision type effect. It was really quite fascinating. But the orb that he showed, it was obviously not a plane. It was obviously not a craft. I would definitely agree that, yeah, it was an orb based upon everything.
Way too low to be a satellite.
Yeah, it was.
It was only from the camera footage that we saw, it was only a few hundred feet above.
Yeah.
Okay. Satellites are way up in space, not a few hundred feet above us. So that was kind of cool. We got 2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Samantha Mowat is our guest. We do the Estus method. And then I believe we were going to try and put you under it, but you just declined because by this time it was about 1 o'clock in the morning.
I was tired.
You were tired, but you said that the energy was changing and that whatever it was there wanted us out of there like now.
Yeah.
What are you picking up on?
Well, as we discussed earlier, when things are emitting a vibration that feels safe and secure, you can feel it. But the energy that I recall getting that evening was it felt like something that was trying to intimidate us, like it wanted us to be out of that space. It felt as though it would resort to fear tactics to get us the heck out of there, things that would be like throwing stuff at us or even spooking us. And I didn't want us to have that happen because we had talked about coming back there the next night as well, or the next day as well. But the energy, like Dave, we felt everything from Bigfoot to like energetic beings like elementals and angelic beings and dead people, and that was not what was pushing us up that space. Whatever it was, it didn't feel kind, and I didn't want to mess with that.
It just seemed that it was starting to get darker, the energy, no pun intended.
Yeah. And it felt intimidating. I remember feeling like when you're feeling a location, if you ever go somewhere spooky where it's got like negative spirits, you might feel as though your aura is pushing inwards. It might feel as though things are encroaching around you, where it's almost like you don't feel as though you're safe or allowed to take up space in that region. And that's what I was feeling within that location. And in my experience, trust the energy because energy doesn't lie. And if you trust the energy, it'll keep you safer. So I really didn't want to mess with something that was clearly not happy with our presence.
When we return on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to talk about what happened on night number 2 of our adventure into the forest with Samantha Mowat, our guest tonight. Her website, samanthamowat.ca. You can check her on out. My name is Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio, Aliens in the Forest, Part 2. Next on the big show. You're going to love this story.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
So so good. So good.
I like it. It's cool. It's a nice little change. Keeps it like perky and interesting. So good
Yeah.
job.
We're laying down the storyline just perfectly.
I'm excited to share this with them. 'Cause, I mean, we haven't spoken publicly about this at all, so it's going to be really fun.
I know.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast. A
I
blast,
wanna
I
make- I definitely want to make sure that we share all the details leading up to it, because I think there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be laid to help really understand what happened. So
I like it.
it'll be
I
fun.
like it. We can do that.
So as we said earlier, yeah, I think I've got an 8 or a 10-person tent. So we should be able to do that pretty easily. Yeah, should be fine.
Yeah. Should
I don't
be
know.
fun.
I don't know how much sleep you're gonna get.
Oh, when I go out, I'll go out. I'm just I'm gonna attract I won't be able to bring my CPAP out there.
Nope.
So I'm going to literally be snoring away, keeping all of you guys awake.
Oh, I'm gonna have earbuds. Like I'll have something in my ears, I won't hear you. And a sleep mask because definite princess that way. Whatever, it'll be fun. I don't know. Like we should be able to take your Jeep there. That part shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, I mean with the snoring it should keep things like the bears and that away, so that won't be a problem either. So we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That'll be good. I'm so excited.
So
I'm so scared.
I want to warn you, when I went to Jasper 2 years ago, I had the Greys quite literally open a vortex in the wall and take me through the tent wall. And they have footprints outside of the tent, so be prepared for like that to happen with you guys too, or to at least happen with me, so it might kind of freak you out.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think if we film it, it should make more content, should be interesting. And we will end up putting these little strap things on the inside the tent, like just like those little metal clippy ones, the ones used for like climbing and what have you.
Yeah.
The little ones. That way, it just kind of keeps the inside closed. You can hear when things are moving the zipper around. Yeah. It'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Oh, no worries.
Appreciate it. Oh, I'm scared shitless. I'll be honest with you. I am.
Why? You've been fine every time up till this point. Why would that change?
There's ghosts, there's Sasquatch, there's aliens, there's grizzly bears, black bears, wolf pack, you name it.
Do you want me to bring my German Shepherd? I'm not gonna bring my Aussie Shepherd. That thing doesn't shut up, but my German Shepherd would be a better one.
Maybe.
She's
We'll see.
nice. The smell of animals can help. I don't think we'll have a problem. Although when I did go camping with her in 2020 and we had some Sasquatch come outside the tent, she did start whining. She actually let me know they were outside first before she passed out cold, which didn't help. So
Yeah, thanks for the protection there, dog. Yeah. Oh, there's some Sasquatch outside. I'll just go to sleep now.
I think
That
we
area,
have the road.
yeah,
So
that area operation shutdown doesn't have Dogman in it.
okay, should be fine.
I do have some interesting info though.
What's that?
If you I will tell you privately.
Sure.
Okay? I will tell you privately.
Sounds good.
I'm investigating something.
Nice.
And that road, the main road,
Yeah.
leads somewhere that could be a little spooky.
That sounds like fun. I think I know exactly what you're talking about actually. Based upon a prior conversation, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, everybody, the Doug Shelby has finally arrived, which means we can officially start this show.
Hi, Doug. No, should be fun. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing this for a few days. So should be entertaining.
Yeah, it's going to be entertaining.
I think
Going to be.
so.
The only problem is we're not going to be allowed a fire there.
That's fine. We don't need one.
Yeah. Big thank you tonight to Vaughn ×2, Pascal ×2, W. David Page, Science Bob, Toe Tag, Jason, and Aloha Dave for the super chats. And the best part about it is you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store as well. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So go check it on out. You'll like what we have there. We got some good stuff. Head your way. And here we go with the next half hour.
Did you say Pokemon?
Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. We're on every major podcast network as well, so you can find us there. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Next half hour, Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight on the Mighty SOR, and we are having a blast with her, talking all things extraterrestrial and supernatural. And Samantha, we are talking about our adventure into the forest last summer. So heading into night number 2, it was about 7:45 p.m., and the sun was nice and shiny still.
Mhm.
Hadn't settled for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
But while we were setting up, you and I get this feeling that we're being watched very close to us.
Yeah, because I remember we went from the main area where all the equipment was stored and where the guys had all their camera stuff and our bottles of water and our snacks and all that jazz. And we walked 100 or 200 feet, whatever it was, down the road towards where we had come in. And you and I stopped at the kind of like at a little meadow that was off to the right-hand side when you're driving out. And I remember feeling this really interesting vibration. It felt like the air was alive. It felt tingly. I remember telling you, oh my goodness, Dave, like, feel this. Do you feel the energy? Do you feel that? And I remember being really excited because it felt like there was craft nearby. The vibration felt like it was moving faster. It felt like almost like when there's about to be lightning in the area, how you can feel almost like the electricity in the air. It felt something very similar to that when the energy is moving quite quickly as a craft is going from a different dimension into our dimension. And I remember you and I were looking around, and Richie came over, and I think he had a cigarette either in his hand or in his mouth. I can't remember which. And he was trying to get the camera going, but he's having issues with his battery because he's like, the DAMN thing just died, and that doesn't make sense. The battery was good. Here, Tanner, hold on to this. I got to change the battery. And they were grumpy because, of course, the technology is going wonky because we've got a craft that's come into our vicinity. And for those of you who know anything about extraterrestrials and multidimensionals, you'll probably be aware of the electrical disturbances that quite commonly happen when these things are coming into a general region. Not just will you have like your fridge will end up changing, your furnace might kick off, or you might notice that your fridge is no longer humming, but it can drain batteries and make lights flicker, all sorts of funky things like that. And that was part of the problem that the boys were having when this was happening, was their technology was going wonky. Do you remember Richie coming over and complaining about the issues?
Yes, because
Yeah.
you and I had felt electricity, like vibration, electrical
Yeah.
vibration running through our feet. Now, to paint a picture, we are in the middle of the forest. We're 25 miles away from any electricity, any
Mhm.
cell phone towers. There is no cell phone signal out there.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of nowhere. We're in the forest. And we called over Richie and Tanner and Tim, and Richie, Tanner, and Tim, or Richie and Tim,
Tanner.
pardon,
Okay.
felt the vibration under our feet as well, but
Yeah.
Tanner didn't, and we figured it was because he's an ex-Marine and he still wears his jump boots.
Yeah.
So we figured that was blocking. But as we're trying to figure out what was going on, you guys didn't see Merle walk
No.
by us. And I watched Merle, and he had our only gun with us over his shoulder, and he
Yeah.
takes off down the path past us. And instead of taking the right to the exit, to exit the area, he hangs a left down another path. And it was then that all of a sudden Merle started saying,
Nope. Nope.
nope, 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 nope. And he raced back towards us.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, how the hell did you get over there? What are you doing with the gun?
I didn't even hear him. Not
Yeah.
at all. I didn't see him, didn't hear him, none of that.
And he had no recollection of how he got there.
No, he didn't.
And when I asked him, what was all the noping? He said, something whistled at me. So well, what did it sound like? And it was like, just like that.
Yeah, I'm with him. If something's whistling in the woods, no thank you. I would be going the other way too.
Exactly. But the funny
Yeah.
part about it is, and for people listening at home, you have to imagine a 90-degree angle. Base camp is at the top. We're in the middle before the trail going towards where Merle got whistled at, about halfway down. Okay. As the crow flies, between where Merle was and base camp is about 50 yards, 50, 60 yards as the crow flies. So we all decide to follow Merle and have this, find out where this thing whistled at him. And he's pointing to the area where, if you looked at the trajectory of that 90-degree angle where we were halfway and where Merle was here, the whistle came from right in the middle.
But you're forgetting that you and I had walked out into that field, like into that little meadowy part, pardon me, because we were feeling that craft. We felt the energy of it, and we were looking for it before the guys ended up coming over, because we spent like 2 minutes doing that.
But we were looking on the opposite side. So if this is where we were, this is where Merle had his instance, we were looking on the other side.
Yeah, we were.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling him, like, there's got to be a craft nearby because I can feel it. And I remember being so happy they were showing up, like, asked them to.
I know. I remember that. So we decide to go down where Merle is.
Yeah.
And we get to the area where there's whistling, and it feels like we're being watched again. Yeah. And we continue on this trail, and way off in the distance to the west, that's where we heard that 15 to 20 second roar. Yeah. And it was one pitch.
Yeah.
And everybody who's had any forest experience knows what a bear sounds like, or what a mountain lion sounds like, or a wolf sounds like, or a moose. This was a big animal roaring.
And deep.
And it never changed its pitch. And the one thing that it did do is and this thing's way off in the distance. And I remember Richie saying, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "That, my friends, is a Sasquatch."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden in that area, there's a bunch of free range cattle in between where this roar is and where we are.
Yeah.
And the cattle start going crazy. They're like, moo, 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 all over the place. So we decide we're going to head back to base camp. And
we were doing some filming and looking around first because he was trying to figure out exactly where he had felt the energy. And we went a bit further than what he was expecting too, because we were wondering if something was that way. And Merle and I stopped, and I remember he and I said to each other, I feel like we should be going back. And I think he was the one that suggested that we go back to everyone. And I agreed, like, yeah, it feels like we're being pulled back.
And as we're on our way back, we're around the area where Merle got whistled at. And from our base camp, we hear this guttural grrr. And it was so deep and ominous. I remember us saying, crap, there's a bear at our camp.
All of our food, all of our supplies.
We got all of our food, all of our supplies, about $30,000 worth of camera gear sitting there. And now there's a bear there. So we start scurrying back. And Tim is in front. I'm second. You and Merle and the camera guys and Mike, our protector, were
Yeah.
behind us. And I'm looking as the crow flies to see if there's any bears coming through the trees.
Yeah.
And that's when I stopped and I said, what the hell is that? Because I am looking at this rounded brown object in the sky, or on the ground, pardon me. And there is no hair on it. It looks metallic. And I could see the sun shining off the top left part of it. And of course, brown is made up of orange, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
And that's the colors I'm seeing reflecting off the sun. So I
Yeah.
know it's not a Bigfoot because there's no hair and sun is reflecting off of it, which makes it some sort of metallic. And you guys stop. You said, where? I pointed into the forest where I was looking at the craft.
Yeah, because we weren't looking at the same thing you looked at.
And you guys were to my left.
Yeah.
I was to the right of you. And that's where you saw what, Samantha?
Well, I remember someone else pointed it out to me because one of the guys had said something like, "Hey, what's that over by the tree? What's that peeking around the tree?" And I wish I had paid more attention. I wasn't paying attention at the time. It could have been Merle. I'd have to ask the guys to find out who it was that had said this. All I know is that it wasn't you, and it wasn't Mike, and it wasn't Richie. 'Cause I remember telling Richie where to film. And as I looked in the distance near the tree where you and I had stood several minutes earlier, there was what appeared to be the same kind of Andromedan type head. It had a very similar head to like the Greys, large head, oval shaped with like a pointed chin, large black eyes staring, facing us. And it looked like it was kind of peeking around a tree, kind of like that. And I remember looking at it, and then Richie was saying, "What are they looking at? I'm trying to get it. What are we looking at here?" I'm like, "Okay, see this big tree over here, and then go down a bit, and there." And I was trying to show him where to look. And I remember everyone was talking about what we were seeing at the same time. And I remember looking at the being very happy that he had come and that he had decided to make his presence known. The one thing that really stood out to me about this being is not only was this the location that you and I had felt it, but he showed up at a very similar distance to what we had seen with the beings in the forest in 2014. He was a few hundred feet away, close enough that you could make out what it is, but not so close that we could easily get there. Because, Dave, if you recall, there were dead trees that had fallen that had already grayed, impeding our almost like our pathway towards this. Yet, if you were to look straight ahead, it is quite open in the sense that we don't have a lot of trees with like coniferous type trees with their greenery obstructing our vision. We could see for a fair distance, yet we had physical objects to impede us getting back quickly. And I remember the guys trying to get the shot.
While you guys are taking that, because I
Yeah.
didn't see the being.
That's okay.
Now, I believe there was one, or I think it was Merle or somebody else saw two beings kind of
Okay.
moving through.
Nice.
And I went back, like this is all in the span of about 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's not very long.
And
Yeah.
I stepped back to where I saw the craft, and the
Yeah.
craft was gone. It
Mm.
was gone.
Yeah.
And I would then went to see if we could find the alien.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it.
Well,
And
we had talked about walking to get a closer shot of it, and we had started walking down the path rather than cutting straight ahead, which would have made sense.
yeah, we should have chased it.
But David didn't want us to chase it. It didn't want us to walk straight towards it. That's why it chose that location. And I really didn't feel as though it wanted to have a physical interaction with all of us. I don't know if it was the gun that made him uncomfortable or the accumulation of people, the group of people could have been intimidating. I don't know. But Dave, you and I have talked for years that if we had that encounter again, that we would walk there and you would go shake its hand type thing. But I didn't feel like that was the right course of action. It really didn't feel like that's what the being wanted.
Obviously not.
No.
Obviously not. We go back to base camp,
Yeah.
and there's no footprints.
No.
There's no bear tracks. All of our food is intact. Nothing has been messed with. And that's where I believe that we were not warned by a bear.
No.
we were bored, or we were warned of the alien in the forest by a Sasquatch.
I can agree with that.
That's what I believe.
I mean, based upon the events that happened, it does seem like the Sasquatch was being territorial towards the ET that had come into that location. It didn't seem like it wanted it necessarily to be there, because from that point onwards, we had a lot of Sasquatch activity happening. We were hearing trees being pushed over. We were feeling the ground kind of shaking at some points. We could hear all sorts of weird noises going on, things that are not attributed to the animals that we generally have within that vicinity, or within our, like, we're both in the north, in northern British Columbia, and the type of activity we were having isn't conducive with what you would see normally with the animals we typically have here.
Very true. Very true. And it was amazing that we were able to have that experience. Now, we're still
Yeah.
not fully sure if we got it on camera or not. It's
Yeah.
not looking like we did. One of the mistakes that we made while doing the filming was that
Yeah.
our camera crew, it was the first time they were shooting reality TV
Yeah.
sort of thing. And they didn't fully understand the concept of always be rolling.
And that's understandable. I mean, this is something we hadn't discussed beforehand. It was a wonderful learning experience for all of us.
It
And that's
really
okay.
was.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not too concerned about it,
No.
but the whole fact that this happened,
Mm.
that there they were again in the
Yeah.
forest. It was a different craft. I've never seen that type of craft before. It wasn't big. It was maybe 7 feet tall, okay, in
Yeah.
height, and maybe 6, 7 feet round.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't a big craft.
Mm.
What it looked like, I don't know. All I remember was that it was like if you take a Dairy Queen ice cream cone,
Yeah.
okay, but you chop off the top layers and you have that first ripple and then the second ripple of ice cream.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Okay.
Yeah. And if it was ice cream, I'd have been all over that because I like my ice cream.
Nice.
I do.
But later that night, when we were doing our other activities, we were like setting up the different paranormal light strands that Merle had and things like that to try to talk to the beings, and I believe do the same. What was that test called that you did the night before?
The Estus method.
Thank you, the Estus method. When Merle was preparing to do that on the second night, I remember seeing the beings for a moment looking like it had walked across, almost like there was that one downed stump that was behind us, like maybe 50 or 100, not even 100 feet, like 50 feet, kind of behind where we were. And I remember seeing the being almost like it's part of its body for like 2 seconds, like it was walking. So I knew that they were still watching us in the area, but they didn't make themselves known in the same capacity, but all of us could feel them and feel them being present around. That was really interesting.
And as we were setting up and
Yeah.
as we were back at base camp and it got darker again, you
Yeah.
could hear the noise of
Yeah.
whatever it was all around us. And they were close,
They
like
were.
within 20 feet of us.
Yeah. I
Because
agree.
here's the thing, people. When the noise is happening up high,
Yeah.
okay, owls and birds are not making noise up high.
No.
Deer are not making noise up high.
No.
The only creatures that would be there making noise up high would be a grizzly bear, a black
Yeah.
bear, a moose.
Kruger.
Cougar's going to be more silent. They're more stealthy,
Fair.
okay? But a cougar's going to make noise if it's climbing a tree.
But do you
We
guys have raccoons? Like, we don't have them as far north as I am.
We don't have raccoons up here.
So, not raccoons.
It's not raccoons.
No.
And so the heaviness, though, of the branches being moved and being broken off of trees, it was very eerie. Now, I want to believe it was Sasquatch. It felt to me like it was Sasquatch. Can I prove it? Not at all. Not at all. There is no evidence empirically to show that that's what it was. But when you were under the Estus method, I
Yeah.
remember one thing very candidly,
Mm.
and that was the smell of women's perfume
Yeah.
coming through the forest.
Yeah. And I wasn't wearing my perfume when we're going out into the forest.
It was very florally,
Yeah.
very or floral, I should say.
Yeah.
It was like a sweet floral smell,
Yeah.
and it was coming from the crash site area.
Mm.
So I knew there were spirits there that were watching us, unless some Sasquatch ate a bunch of wildflowers in there and farted. I wouldn't know.
Maybe. It's definitely a possibility, but I mean, it is more likely to be beings that are producing a smell, like deceased people when they cross over the other side. It can trigger your clairgustance, especially if we're having things like extraterrestrials coming nearby. That shift in vibrational frequency would amplify everyone in the area's psychic abilities and increase them. And so that is something we have to take into consideration with this. I've talked about this many times on your show, how just simply being near these beings, because they are quite psychic, increases our psychic awareness. So you having that happen could be your clairgustance amplified.
Well, it was very interesting because shortly after that,
Yeah.
Merle did the Estes method after you. You were picking up beings all over the place, but
Yeah.
Merle's was a little scarier
Yeah, it was.
because for some reason, Merle
Mm.
started having a panic attack saying,
Yeah.
"Where's Dave? Where's Dave? Is Dave
Yeah.
safe?"
Yeah.
Because there was some voice on there basically telling him that I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm just standing like 10 feet from the guy. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I wasn't in trouble, but I
No.
don't know what that meant.
Yeah, but sometimes when it comes to stuff like that, you can have some of these trickster spirits playing with people, playing with their emotions, making them afraid. We've talked about that in the past as well, how some of these beings will get into your head and play on your fears. Especially when you had seen some reptilian eyes the night before that did indicate that, we could have some of the not so nice ones that are within that area kind of keeping an eye on us as well.
I agree. I mean, and we don't know
Yeah,
what was around us. But if you've
yeah,
ever been in an area at night, and we're talking pure darkness here, people,
yeah.
like there's no street lights that you can see, nothing is
Not even my
amplified.
distance.
The
Yeah,
only light outside of what we brought with us was the moon,
and the stars.
the stars, and
Yeah,
the moon was already on its way down.
yeah.
So literally all we had was the stars
Hmm.
and a lot of mosquitoes.
Yeah,
A
they're
lot of
pretty bad.
To smell that perfume over the smell of off, the amount of off spray that we had on
Oh
us,
yeah.
that was pretty powerful.
That's talented, like really talented. Because we were reapplying off every hour or two to try to keep the mosquitoes at bay.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. Like they were flying into your mouth.
Yeah,
That's how thick they were. Like
it was like
I
the
must,
Yukon.
right?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. But I do think that if we do this again, the beings will most likely be willing to show up. So I think it's worth a shot, Dave. I really do.
Oh, I'm in. I swore I
Yeah,
would never go back there
yeah,
at
you did.
night. I've been there in the daytime since.
Yeah.
And the minute I walk into that area, I get a headache. Samantha, I
Mm,
know that we only had you scheduled for 2 hours. I'm going to ask because I haven't heard from my UFO reporter, Nicole, yet. And usually she checks
okay.
in. But if you could stick around, I'd
Of course.
appreciate I'd appreciate that. We are through 2 hours here on Spaced Out Radio.
Mhm.
Hour 3. We're going to continue the UFO and alien talk when we return on the mighty SOR. Samantha Mowat is our guest. I am your host, Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Yay!
All right, we are clear. I'm
Thanks,
just going to put you in the green room here. We're going to take a couple minute break here, and
Okay.
I'll bring you back in a minute, okay? All right, there we go. We'll be right back, guys. We'll be right back. And when we come back, if you guys have any questions, I want you to keep them to the experiences that Samantha and I have had. Okay. If you guys have any questions about what we've talked about tonight, and we'll get right to them. Okay. All right, I am back. And we'll bring Samantha on.
Hi. Always on my phone. I'm back.
We all.
Yeah, that's why I started crocheting, so I'm not on my phone as much. It's fun.
Fun times. Fun times.
I learned you can make about 2 or 3 blankets a hockey season, so not bad.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Although the first blanket I made, Dave did one of these because you can tell where I'm paying attention to the game and not paying attention to what I'm doing. So bad.
That's all right.
I think so.
All right, we're coming back in 10 seconds here. Thank you to all our super chatters tonight and everybody who's new, who hit subscribe and rang the bell. We very much appreciate it. And here we go, everybody. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We very much appreciate you tuning us in. And we want to tell you about our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hey, City? That's what I'm going to call it. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that is your password for tonight on the mighty SOR. All right, Samantha Mowat is here. We're just going to quickly play a little bit of Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Sometime in the afternoon on December 5th, 1998, Derek Ingebretson, his father Robert, and his grandfather Bob, 64, set out for a densely wooded mountainside above Upper Klamath Lake, about 30 miles north of Klamath Falls. They planned to find a Christmas tree for the holiday season. Derek was lost and never seen again. Because of his love for the outdoors, Derek was known as Bear Boy, even at the age of 8. A week after he was born, his mother carried him on a bear hunt in a pack. In his youth, he hunted with his father and picked mushrooms with his mother's father. On several of his mushroom expedition outings, he had visited Pelican Butte in the past. The Ingebretson family did not plan to go Christmas tree hunting that year in the woods. Although Robert looked forward to a family Christmas tree hunt every year, it was his wife, Lori, who convinced him to use an artificial tree that year. Lori wanted to keep the mess to a minimum, but when a disabled neighbor asked for a tree, Robert decided to go into the woods. Bob remembers telling the group that since it was already 2 p.m., it would be dark around 4 p.m. since it was late in the year, and he was driving along West Side Road in his red Toyota pickup. On his way to Rocky Point Resort, Bob pulled into a turnout behind Robert, who told him to stay with his grandfather. Derek nagged his grandfather that he wanted to catch up with his dad as he chopped at small trees with his hatchet. At some point, the grandfather relented, and the boy headed off in search of his father. With the darkness closing in, Robert and Bob met back up and asked each other, "Where's Derek?" Robert recalls asking. Grandpa Bob replied, "I thought he was with you." "No, he was with you." Despite the steady falling of heavy wet snow, Robert turned on his heels and went back up the hill. He called out to Derek, but no response came. Robert then flagged down a man named Fred Hines, a motorist who was driving along at about 4:13 p.m., and requested he dial 911 so the authorities could be notified. in the resort, 2 miles away from the area where Derek vanished, Hines made the call. Over the course of 2 weeks, hundreds of people searched through several feet of snow, using snowmobiles and dogs to search for Derek. Lori slept in a donated camper van at the turnout, hoping Derek might see the bonfire and come to her. Once she thought she saw Derek waving and smiling at her. However, it turned out she was just delirious from lack of sleep. Derek's tracks were found by Robert, his dad, and other members of the family in the newly fallen snow in the hours immediately following his disappearance. Apparently, Derek had laid down in a clearing near the road to make a snow angel, when his boot prints were spotted near the spot where Robert had last seen him. There had been a snowplow that came by, and sadly, the tracks leading away from the angel were obliterated. There were no tracks leading towards the woods from the snow angel. A small area of trees near the road was damaged by Derek's hatchet cuts. His father was confident that his son did not re-enter the woods. Early in the evening, 5 to 8 inches of snow had fallen on the point. A candy wrapper was found, and a makeshift lean-to shelter was found made out of branches, but it was unclear whether the candy wrapper or the lean-to were the handiwork of Derek. Derek's family believed that he had made his way to the road and was probably picked up by a stranger, although this explanation was, for some reason, dismissed by the sheriff. Bob discovered a hole in the ice and a child's footprint on the bank during the search. The next day, however, divers searched this area, and additional searches were carried out during the spring thaw. However, nothing was found. Lori and Robert were informed, sadly, by the Klamath County authorities that their son was most likely deceased 8 days after he disappeared. During the next 7 days, Robert, Lori, and about 100 volunteers stayed on the mountain. Speculation intensified that Derek had been kidnapped. When sub-zero temperatures forced the Ingebrigtsens to end their search on December 18, 1998, Robert drove straight from his graveyard shift at work to the mountain to meet Lori every weekend for the next 2 years. These search areas were marked on a map by the couple. It was widely believed that the authorities were too slow to arrive at the scene the night Derek disappeared, which led to criticism of the search and rescue effort. The search did not begin in earnest until nearly 5 hours after the first 911 call, because the coordinator was reluctant to interrupt a Christmas dinner at Molly's restaurant for the annual award dinner of the Klamath County Search and Rescue Team before he was certain a rescue was needed. Despite passing polygraphs, Robert and Grandpa Bob remained suspects in Derek's case, and at least thought to have been negligent in some way.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another spooky story, and we appreciate Steve tuning us on in and allowing us to play that each and every night in hour 3. You want more? Just head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing, and you can get all the stories for free. All right, we're going to continue on tonight, an exciting night of 10 Years of Aliens with Samantha Mowat as we continue on Spaced Out Radio tonight. And Samantha, first 2 hours, 2 times into the forest, we're 2 for 2 with aliens out there. It's pretty exciting, I can say.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, Dave. I was actually thinking while we're listening to that situation of the young man going missing about how many people go missing every year because of encounters with either extraterrestrials or cryptids or things like that, and that's why they never find the body. I'd be very curious to know more information about that.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people just vanish without a trace.
Yeah.
Before we get to more story time, I have a bunch of questions from our audience that I'd like to bring up. Let's start off with Hackmeister 1. I want to ask Samantha, could this be Nephilim? I ask because of all the paranormal activity and spiritual connectivity that we've seen. Also, Samantha looks like Bitsy Tulloch from Grimm.
Cool. Whoever Bitsy Tulloch is. So let me just make sure I'm understanding this question correctly. Hackmeister, are you making reference to the young man who disappeared?
No.
This
will be for
reference to? Okay. So in regards to the situations that you and I have had?
Yes.
Depends on your definition of Nephilim. For people who see it as just extraterrestrials who've bred with humanity and who have interactions with them and they're much bigger than us, then yeah, through that definition, it could definitely be considered Nephilim. But if you're looking at it as in, could these beings be mistaken for gods? I don't think that would be a fair perspective. Dave, what else is he asking with this that I could be missing?
Well, just the fact that there's a lot of paranormal and spiritual connectivity around these areas.
Could very well be, but with the areas that we're looking at, I think the reason we're having a lot of activity is because there's a lot of portals nearby. I find, in particular, North America seems to be just riddled with them. They seem to be almost everywhere, especially in the woods. That's why I think we have so many areas that you can't access anymore. Because I think Black Ops keep discovering more and more of them and putting logging gates up, but that's my speculation.
All right, let's get to another question here
Sure.
from, let's go to Paramarv. Are you still under NDA? Don't worry, we won't tell anyone. Is there an update on the film project around these events? A little bit of a touchy subject, but we are going to have to refilm because there was a lot that was missed that we didn't get an opportunity to make it look perfect. So we're heading back into the forest. And that's something that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, which is exciting and a lot of fun. I think this time we should be able to get even more on film. So we're planning on having some smaller cameras on us, things like that, GoPros kind of going all the time and doing a lot more organized dumping of our footage to keep it more concise.
That's right. And we are talking to people
Yeah.
about potential distribution as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Dizzy. Samantha, do you energetically protect yourself before an investigation like yours in the forest? What's that like?
So for me, Jesse, there's a few things that I do before I go anywhere at any point in the day. I always do energy protection around myself. I do it around my home, my vehicle, my children. They're just instinctual to do them over and over for me. The ones that I most commonly teach my clients are to put white light around themselves, golden bubbles, grounding cords, stuff like that. But for myself, I tend to incorporate more density, texture, and different kinds of energies. So part of the reason that I got the platonic solids tattooed on myself is because I wanted to use different shapes and different densities and different colors in my energy protection to, because the things that, like, you need to look at it this way, Dizzy. When you're wanting to keep the energy of ghosts at bay, ghosts have a very different vibrational frequency than, say, some spirits that are more negative, which is a very different energetic frequency than, say, some of the ETs, which is a very different frequency than Bigfoot. And so the different vibrational frequencies that you're using for energy protection has to be different layers, kind of like a one of those gumballs that you get when you're a kid, the super suckers or whatever, the ones that have like all the different colored layers. Different vibrations prevent different things from having control or influence upon you. And so for myself, yes, I do a lot of energy work before these events to keep myself safe, but also to clear myself of these vibrations. Otherwise, it'd be very easy for something to mislead the information for me or to make it very difficult for me to have a clear read.
Excellent. Okay, let's
Yeah,
go to another question from our audience. This
sure.
comes from Troy. Did you, Dave, or Samantha experience a particular taste in your mouth when you had the experience? No.
Mm-mm. No, nothing noteworthy, Troy.
We didn't have any taste, any funny
Mm-mm.
sounds, or there was no missing time. There was
No,
nothing. I will say this, and I'm not going to name the names on this.
sure.
Two of the people who were there, I found out months and months later, were very, very scared. They had never encountered anything like
Yeah,
this. In fact, one of the members of the group
yeah,
ended up going back to church
yeah.
and changing his entire focus on life. It scared him that bad.
And he's a nice guy too. Really
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was scared. And this is a guy you wouldn't expect to get scared.
No,
And, Merle was not prepared for the aliens.
that's
He was
okay.
not prepared for that. Because he's a ghost guy. He
Yeah,
doesn't believe, or he has a hard time believing that
yeah.
that this is all connected. that the phenomena is all connected.
Yeah.
And he just loves doing his ghost thing. He likes doing cryptids too, but mainly ghosts are his thing. And he's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
He is a brilliant investigator,
Yeah.
just brilliant investigator. But we plan on getting back out there this year. We have a couple other locations that we're looking at as well for filming, and it's going to make for interesting television, hopefully.
But Dave, that's also something that you and I've talked about publicly quite a few times. For a lot of people, the aspect of actually seeing extraterrestrials or multidimensionals in the flesh when they're wide awake with multiple people and they can't deny what the heck it is they're seeing, that is life changing. It can be a complete paradigm shift with everything that you've ever possibly been taught, as you discussed earlier, from your coaches to your teachers, your parents, your religious figures in your life. I mean, it really makes you question everything.
It sure
And
does.
I get people being uncomfortable and having a bit of a dark night of the soul from it. I mean, it is a sign of intelligence to look at an event that is so outside of your regular day-to-day reality, especially something like what we had, and to question everything. I understand people doing that.
And the thing is, we had so many
Yeah,
different witnesses,
yeah,
so many different people there experiencing it all at the same time. You don't
yeah.
usually get a lot of opportunities like that, Samantha.
No, no, I've come to learn that most people don't really get that opportunity. But one thing, like I had the pleasure of talking to that gentleman just in our drive up and stuff like that, because we left my truck and my camper at the beginning of that one dirt road, and we had taken his vehicle kind of in a bit until the really steep part where we all took your Jeep. And when he and I were talking, he was already open to a lot of psychic stuff and the paranormal, very experienced in the woods. And even though he had spent like years and years in the woods, having that experience was just such a paradigm shift for him. So I understand, when you can't wrap your head around something, I can understand people turning to God, so to speak, to try to figure out what the heck it was.
Yeah, I don't think he would want to go back there. I
Probably not.
maybe in the daytime, but I think if we were to say to him, "Hey, this
Yeah.
we're going back at night," I don't think he would come. I really, really do not think he would come at all. Let's get to another question. Let's go to Woo here, who is asking, Samantha, have you ever experienced nefarious beings while doing the Estus method?
Not really while doing the Estes method. I don't typically have nefarious ones coming forward. I've had some nefarious beings come forward when I've been reading people who have like drug addictions or sex addictions or stuff like that. I'm more likely to have beings that are more troublesome coming forward when I'm reading clients like that than I am during the Estes method. But I think part of the reason why we had such an interesting situation with Merle with the Estes method on the second night is because of the shift in energy we had within that area, Dave. I think that really threw off who was able to come through and communicate with him. And thank you, Timothy man. That's sweet.
All right, let's go to another question here. Let's go
Yeah.
to Little Cam over on Twitch. He bench presses 550. And he's asking, when will you all know if the encounter you had was caught on tape?
When we were doing the filming in the woods and I was with Richie and I showed him exactly where the heck it was to look and what it is we were seeing, and he was looking down and looking up, looking down, looking up, we thought we caught it on film. And I honestly thought we had, based upon everything that happened that night. I'm surprised that we aren't able to find in all of our footage a really good shot of that being, because between him and Tanner, they were both facing the right direction. The cameras were rolling. I don't know what happened as to why it didn't, I guess, be in the same clarity as everything else we had. It was really odd, to be honest with you. I can
It
assume it has to do with the disruptions, like we talked about earlier, from, I believe it was Sovereign who brought up the commentary about um, pixelation and about quality of images and beings having an influence upon them. But that would be my speculation. So we don't know when we'll catch them get on film. That's why we want to have more cameras and hopefully have more opportunity to do this.
All right, let's move on here to
Mhm.
another question. Great questions from our audience in our YouTube chat room, so thank you very
Yeah.
much. Over in the UK, Castle Dude is asking, how do I find out which ET race I come from?
So, Castle Dude, if you feel as though you are a starseed and you feel very connected towards that type of energetic past, then a couple of ways you can do it, or you can look at what constellations you've always been really drawn to. And the other thing that you can do with that is you can either do more of like an energetic reading for yourself, where you do things like using your body's barometer with yes and no, or using a pendulum for yes and no, or tarot with yes and no, and kind of like narrow down all the races that are available. You can go see any of the number of psychics out there online who are doing readings. There's tons of them on TikTok who can tell you where you're from by looking into your auric field, or you can ask your guides to start having signs and synchronicities coming up to show you where it is you're from. You might be like, okay, guides, where the frick am I from, starseed wise? And pay attention over the next couple of weeks. You might start being shown one star sign or star constellation name more than the others.
We got 2.5 minutes before we got to go to break. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight. Let's
Yeah.
go to Paramarv. In your interactions with ETs, have they shared any information about underground bases, human or alien, and or my labs and the reason behind them? Let's just take the first part on that, because that could go really down a rabbit hole, and we want to keep tonight's show real positive tonight.
Yes, they've shared a lot of information about underground bases, some of the locations of some of them, as well as different ones that I have been in. One of the things that happened in 2020 was I was with one of my primary breeding partners from ET Craft, and he and I were driving, and we actually found where one of the bases is on the northern end of Vancouver Island. And we both felt really compelled to drive that way, and we were in the middle of nowhere, like how we were, Dave. And we just felt really compelled to drive that way, and we figured out where we were pretty quickly. And I knew it was the ETs guiding us because we had seen craft all throughout that week, and they were the ones that were kind of leading us around. When it comes to more direct communication with them, whether it's in the astral or through physical encounters, and the ETs telling me information about bases, yeah, quite commonly when I'm either in a dumb or deep underground military base, I will still have the ETs in communication with me, giving me information so that I'm seeing through my eyes, telling me where I'm safe, where I'm not safe. But other times they will give me information of, you need to not go into that elevator, you need to not go in that direction. It's because they're trying to stop me from getting hurt. Unfortunately, in DUMS and military bases, I have been sexually assaulted a lot from childhood onwards. And that does have to do with programming. But the ETs, they do try to protect their starseeds. They do their best.
All right. And once again, ask any questions that come on about this show tonight. Keep it to the experiences at hand. And because I'm reading the questions cold. And so
Yeah.
it's the only thing I ask for tonight. We got 40
Okay.
seconds left. What do you recall? Anything that we discussed out of both events tonight, what do you recall the most that maybe we haven't talked about?
I do find it interesting that in the times that you and I have gone to the woods, it's been the same type of being that has come forward both times. And so I think there is probably a deeper connection on a soul level for you with the Andromedan beings as well, Dave, because for them to show up like that in that physical capacity in the daylight, which is to make you more comfortable, I think was their deliberate doing. I really do think this was an experience to help you with this as well.
Probably true. Samantha Mowat is here till the top of the hour, taking your questions to do with the experiences of 10 years of aliens.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
Oh, I love that song.
It is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Once again, guys, I'm just gonna mention again. All the questions have to be about the experiences that Samantha and I are talking about tonight. I'm not trying to put a damper on anything, but we want to keep it real positive about this being a 10-year anniversary tonight for Samantha and I meeting each other. So
So,
that's what.
guys, the reason Dave's doing this is I'm having a really hard time with some of my encounters that are going on right now between my ET staff, my Black Ops staff, and everything else. And he's trying to keep it on the light because I really don't feel like crying tonight, to be very honest with you. And he's just trying to be a good wingman that way. So
I am a
that's
good
pretty
wingman.
cool. Yeah.
If you were single, I would be a good wingman.
You know, thank you. I totally appreciate that. But yeah, with ETs, ETs in relationships, good lord. That's a tough
Right.
one.
Damn aliens.
Yeah.
Julian
another
McGill,
time.
how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a few more questions. We'll
Oh,
eat
yeah.
up the night.
I'm not worried. If they want to ask anything even now, it's totally cool with me. Just preferably
Your hair
nothing about, yeah, doing crazy stuff. Nothing about rape.
tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but you know, guys, one thing that I've noticed in the last year is a lot of the ETs do seem pretty stressed about the stuff going on Earth, and they seem worried. So with them being worried, I noticed a lot of people that have contact that I'm friends with, they seem to have their contact going in really big waves lately. So what that means is normally like your contact, you'll have a bunch of it, then it slows down a bit, then you'll have a bunch of it, slows down a bit. But it seems like almost all the contactees that I'm in contact with, their contact has been pretty slow since about Christmas time, where a
Yeah.
lot of them are only having like half a dozen encounters in the span where they'd have like 30, 40, 60 encounters, whether
Wow.
that's astral or physical. So that is a huge drop. But the encounters that I've had this year have all been information based, and they're trying really hard to keep humans away from nuclear war this year. They're trying really hard to prevent World War III. So,
On a positive note, it's
yeah.
Juliana's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Julianne. I hope you have cake.
You know what that means?
What?
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Juliana. Happy birthday to you. There you go, my friend. Happy birthday.
I love it.
If
That's
somebody
cute.
mentions that it's their birthday in the chat room, if I can get time to it, I always sing happy birthday.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yes. It makes
Yeah,
people happy.
I can definitely see that. It's nice,
Yeah.
and you put so much like zeal into it too. So
I
you
try.
do. You could have like another job where, you know, you're singing happy birthday to people and giving them flowers. It'd be well
Mm-hmm.
worth it. It'd be good.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
the ETs will come down and sing happy birthday to me or you. Or
You could ask them. They're not
yeah.
likely to sing happy birthday to me. I'd probably get freaked out.
Happy cosmic birthday to you, Samantha.
What is my cosmic date of birth? That would be great. I would love that. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I've got mantis beings that are mad at me trying to get me to cut my sugar levels down because they're not happy with me about that. So
How's my aura now?
that's not bad. You got some yellow going on, which is good.
Better
Your
than
back's
before?
definitely, your back's still bugging you though, because it's still around your shoulders and around the core that still looks like it's got that dark murky green going on.
I
Which,
had treatment before the show.
nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's probably gonna hurt you for a few days, judging by the coloring, Dave. So
It's all right. Still going to the gym tomorrow.
nice. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, working out's so good. Makes me happy.
Yeah. I'm getting less fat.
And you look great, and I bet you feel better.
I do look better. You know,
You look great.
I'm actually starting to notice. I really am. Excuse me. Big thank you tonight
Yeah.
to Tim Mothman and his goatee, Hackmeister, Woody Mongol, Vaughn ×2, Pascal ×2, Aloha Dave, W. David Page, Jason, Science Bob, and Toe Tag for the super chats tonight. Thank you to all our new subscribers for hitting subscribe, ring that bell. Or if you're listening on X right now, make sure you hit a follow on us because we are here 7 days a week for your listening ears. Here we go, everybody. We're going to come back here in like 4 seconds. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are in this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our show on any major podcast network or on youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just hit the follow button or hit subscribe. That's all we ask in return. I think that's a fair deal. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on. We're going to finish off with Samantha Mowat tonight. 10 years of aliens in the forest with Samantha. I met her 10 years ago today.
Yeah.
And we're still having fun. We're buddies now. We are buddies. And it feels so damn good to have you back here. Thank you for going the distance with us, Samantha.
Thank you for having me. And I've been admiring Tim Mothman's beard. It's really cool looking.
He does have a power goatee. And
does.
if anybody wants to join us in Reno in 3.5 weeks for our SOR fan party, Tim does charge $1 per tug on his goatee. $1 per tug. Yes, he does. Yeah. All right. We got more audience questions coming at you here. Samantha, this is from Tets. What's your thoughts on why UFOs flash us? Is it to say hello or something else?
You know, TETS, I honestly think that with a lot of the beings, it is because they acknowledge that they have your attention. And I do think it is like a hello back quite commonly. It's a very subtle way of doing it, but I do think that is more of a hello.
Me too.
What do you think, Dave? Good.
Well, after I didn't know what it was. The flashing in the sky, I had always thought, that maybe it was the satellite being up really high and having the sun deflect off of it. But when it kept on happening over top of my house at different times at night, that's when I started thinking, no, there's something different to this. And then when the UFO landed on the ground and started its power-ups on the ground of bright white light, turning its lights off and on, that's when I knew that it was actually a message saying, hello, we're here, and we're watching.
I agree. I think it's an acknowledgement, like how we will, honk when we pass them, maybe or like our lights up and down, quickly say, hey, that kind of thing.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Let's go to Dizzy here. Will ETs always stay hidden?
No. There have been points in history where they weren't hidden, pardon me, and they will come out to the public again. And when they do, you will probably see a lot of people like me go into hiding for months.
Be careful.
Dave, but think about it, though. When the ETs do end up making themselves well known, whether it's the Pleiadians, the Greys, Reptilians, Mantises, whoever it is, we know it's going to be happening sometime in the next 20 years. Realistically, they can't keep staying at a distance for too much longer. And when we're looking at that aspect, it is safer for a lot of people who are contactees, especially if they've spoken publicly, to go into hiding, at least until the public's calmed down about it.
I think that's fantastic. I do think that's fantastic. All right, let's go on to, let's see here, Castle Dude. What ET race do you align with, Samantha and Dave?
So if you mean who do I have safe allegiances with, or do you mean who am I connected to on a soul level? Because who I have safe allegiances with aren't necessarily the same as who I have on a soul level. Do you want to go with you first, Dave, because you'll be faster?
I'm totally Anunnaki kind of guy.
Yeah,
totally Anunnaki kind of guy. I am very drawn to Orion. I'm very drawn to
Yeah.
the things around it, and it just kind of really feels right.
So Orion is an interesting one because it's a lot like Canada and the States. It's a bit of a melting pot. You can find all sorts of species from Orion. So I know the Greys from the Orion star system call themselves Mintakans, which is very different as well. But when it comes to who I've been on like a previous incarnational level, I've been Lyran, Palladian, and varieties of Grey and pardon me, Arcturian as my main ones for starseed kind. But who I have allegiances with are everything from reptilians to mantises to humanoid, different types of beings. So kind of depends on which aspect you mean, Castle Dude.
Let's go over to the Doug Shelby. The Doug Shelby. Tim was focused on UFOs going into the festivities. What's his beliefs now afterwards? What about Merle?
So, if I'm not mistaken, after we saw the being in the woods, Tim wasn't sure what to make of it. I remember him feeling like, oh, that was wild. What was that? Can you believe that? I remember him having like a lot of like big kind of like questions like that and being very excited and interested. I'm not entirely sure beyond that of what Tim thought. What do you think, Dave?
I think Tim was putting on, and I mean this with all due respect to Tim,
Yeah,
I think Tim was putting on a very brave face, but he's
yeah,
always been a very nuts and bolts guy when it comes to UFOs,
yeah,
and he got the other side. And I think that Tim
yeah.
hasn't fully recovered from that. It's an emotional process. It
Yeah.
really is an emotional process when you are having one particular belief in UFOs. And Tim used to be a staunch UAP guy, not a UFO guy, UAP guy. All right. And he was very much on the same level as people thinking about the To the Stars Academy and the
Yeah.
government is all UAP and everything is UAP this, UAP that, UAP
Mhm.
BS. Okay, but he wasn't ready for UFOs and he wasn't ready for contact. And I've talked to Tim about that.
Yeah.
And I said, "Tim, here's what I believe." I said, "I think you were scared." And I
Mhm.
said, "It's okay to be scared. That is something that you never experienced.
Yeah.
And it is something that
Mhm.
it is very, very difficult to handle."
Yeah.
And I think it affected him because Tim was very emotionally affected by his encounter with his family a few years ago that he caught it on camera. And I think this personalized it because I do believe Tim saw the being.
Yeah, I think so.
And I believe that that put him into a holy cow, this is real. I got
Yeah.
to act brave, but I'm scared crapless right
Yeah.
now.
In all due fairness, I did warn you guys the day before I had asked them to come. I did warn you that they would be showing up, and I did tell Tim, "Hey, if you see anything, no offense to you guys, but hide behind me."
But
When I can keep you safe with it.
he didn't know you to take you as literal as
Yeah.
see when people listening to this conversation, if they listen to the whole show, they'll be
Yeah.
like, "Who are these two nut bars on the radio talking about aliens?" I don't
Yeah.
believe this story whatsoever. I don't believe that story whatsoever. But
And that's
and
their right.
that is their right. And when Tim was there,
Yeah.
he like I said, he was very nuts and bolts that
Mhm.
that he put a real separation between UAP and
Yeah.
aliens.
Yeah,
What he
he
learned was UFOs and aliens
did.
come together.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now for Merle, Merle is very how would you describe Merle after this?
Uh, Introspective, focused, analytical, He asked some really good questions, everybody, about like, hey, what did you see? What did you experience? And he seemed to be trying to gain a better understanding of not only his experience, but about everyone else's. Merle was going at it from an investigator perspective, based upon what I recall from him.
Merle is very professional in the field.
Yeah,
Very professional. And
yeah,
yes, he does get rattled.
of course.
Okay. And there have been times in previous investigations where I've seen him run away.
That's fair.
But if anything weird is going to happen, it always happens to Merle.
Oh,
Like
poor guy.
I've been walking with him and I've watched him right beside me get punched in the kidneys by ghosts. Okay,
Mm,
I've seen the bruises form on his body. It's just like, he takes off from us. He doesn't know how he got there, but he gets whistled at. You know, Weird things happen to Merle.
yeah.
I think he invites it in because he tries to be skeptical, and which is good, but I think the phenomena kicks his butt because they want him to open up more. They
Yeah,
want him to admit that what is happening around him is very real.
it is. I
But
mean,
he's not ready for that.
looking at the guys and looking at how they were, let's say on day one versus, let's say, day three, I can't blame them for looking at everything and kind of questioning what did I see? What exactly did happen? Am I crazy? Because I mean, seeing a being in the woods with other people in the, let's say, midway through the evening when it's like golden hour and stuff like that, that is a pretty intense situation for most people. It really is. And, I mean, we were close enough that we could see it, but not close enough that we could walk right up to it easily. So I don't blame the guys if they were freaked out by it. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't have more to drink that evening. I mean, if we had gotten back earlier, maybe they would have.
I still have a fridge full of beer waiting for them. I do.
Well, yeah.
But I think that there is, and I'm going to use Dizzy's term in here, and that there is ontological shock.
Yeah.
When you are put into a situation of seeing and hearing things in an environment that really you're dealing with things that to mainstream society should not exist.
Yeah.
And here we are, and we're getting the trifecta. We've got the ghosts. We've
Hmm.
got the Sasquatch around. We have the aliens and UFOs around.
Yeah.
That's a heavy hit for a lot of people. And Samantha, like Merle didn't know you from Adam. He'd heard your name and he'd heard me
Yeah.
speak to you before. Tim had heard you on this show. The rest of
Yeah.
the crew didn't know who you were. And here you are talking about, yeah, we're going to get some ET action here, guys. Like we got to be prepared. And you were warming them up for that. And I'm
Yeah.
just sitting back kind of laughing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, and I think I said to Tim or Merle, I said, you guys have no idea
Yeah.
what's going to happen yet. I said, just be prepared. Because as much as I was prepared, I didn't know if it was going to happen. But when you tell me point blank that they're coming,
Mhm.
I know to listen.
Yeah, but one thing that you and I haven't mentioned in this show is this being was there completely in our dimension. You could have thrown a baseball at it and hit it. Like this wasn't astral, this wasn't psychic, this wasn't it being cloaked. This was flesh and blood right in your face is kind of real. And I do think for the guys, maybe that was a lot to take in the weekend, and that's completely understandable. I can only imagine the levels of cognitive dissonance that, anyone would go through seeing a being like that and trying and having it unravel their reality. It is a lot.
It's very much a lot. And
Yeah.
for a lot of people, and this is where, this is a perfect example
Yeah.
uh where a lot of people can go into the field
Hmm.
and talk tough and
Yeah.
act, but the minute that it's game on, they don't know what they are doing. They don't know how to react. And I'm not saying that I'm a professional at this because,
Mhm.
I get freaked out.
Me
That area
too.
freaks me out.
Yeah.
Okay. But for those people who are like, yeah, if I saw the alien, I'd have ran up to it. I would have done this. I would have done that. No, you wouldn't. You'd be crapping your pants trying to figure out where
Yeah.
could you go hide out of fear and embarrassment.
Well, I mean, I get where they're coming from. Like, you hear all, like, for anyone who's studying this subject, and you look at how all these people react to seeing ETs, and, like, Dave, your reaction, or Travis Walton's reaction to, like, fire in the sky, those beings, or any of the other people out there. And then you hear about people like me who will be like, oh, hi, guys, how's it going? And go hug the beings. You're like, either that girl's fucking crazy. Sorry, effing crazy. My bad. I made a little don't swear thing and I clearly ignored it. My bad. Um, or you would think that I'm being not honest. But I mean, for me, a lot of my reaction with this is to, go talk to these beings and to go interact with them. But that being didn't want us to go up to it. And I'm really pissed that we didn't get a really good, clear shot of it like we thought we did. And I'm so sorry for giving you more work with getting ahead of myself and getting excited. I know you just took the timestamp. But, looking at that, I know for years, as you've talked about this, you want to walk up to the being and to go like shake its hand or interact with it. But that being really didn't want that from us. And this time, you were more like me and, comfortable in that situation. But the other guys, who knows how they would have handled it if we had walked up to the being, whether it's the gentleman carrying the gun or the other guys, right? Might not
I,
have gone over well.
our bodyguard Mike was frozen.
Yeah.
He when I was tapping him to get out of the way,
Yeah.
he couldn't move. He could not move. He was dead scared.
Yeah.
And that happens. That happens.
Yeah.
But
No
going
judgment.
going back, I think we're going to be more prepared and better
Yeah.
prepared. There's a maturity that goes along with that.
But I mean, we've all got things we're afraid of. Like, you put a snake in front of me, I'm gonna freak out and act like a total girl over it. So, yeah,
Oh, me too. I'm running with you. I'm
good.
pulling my skirt up and running with you.
Sounds good. But, I look at the situation with that being that we saw, and I think with the team that we're looking at for June, I think it could be a really good fit. And I think it's probably going to be a calmer experience. So we can probably get a closer shot up of the beings as they come in. Whether it's nighttime shots through the trail camps and stuff like that we'll have, or the daytime ones. I think we could honestly get some of these beings to come up real close.
I think you're absolutely right that we're going to be able to do that. And I believe that we are going to be able to
Yeah,
get something going that could be, I don't even know how to put it. It could be either really, really amazing,
yeah,
or it could be really, really dreadful that they don't show up. Not that they're going to do anything bad, but
yeah,
it's something that we need to be able to work on. And it's something that we got to put the time in, and that we're going to, hopefully be able to get that interaction. And the one thing too is there are certain hot spots out there that just produce. It's like a
yeah,
fishing.
yeah.
Okay. You can be fishing all along a creek or a river and get nothing, but then you find
Mhm.
the hot spot where
Yeah.
all the fish are gathered. And
Hmm.
every second or third cast, you're catching a new fish. And that's
But
kind of like this area.
I think so, but I do wonder about the ley lines that are underneath the ground. If that has any correlation to do with the activity we're seeing in some of these locations, just the strong vibrational energy coming up might make it easier for the craft to come from other dimensions to this one. That could also be why we have Sasquatch coming and going. That could also be why we have so many ghosts at such a strong ability to make their presence known. I mean, there's probably a lot of variables here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has to do with vortexes and ley lines.
Sweet Tony D in the UK is asking, Sam, Is it possible that your documented trip into the woods would be deemed as part of disclosure if you got interactions with non-human intelligence? Your thoughts?
Tony, I no matter what I get filmed, no matter how much I release, the government does not want people like me releasing this information. And the reason why they will never put me front and center when it comes to this is I'm willing to share some of the negative stuff that they don't want the public really being shown. And so we could have a gray or multiple grays or a reptilian shop on screen, and they're not going to want to share that information. They'll do their best to debunk it because you got to remember, I go through black ops. And so with the black operative abductions, they don't necessarily like having people like me being put into that front and center capacity for disclosure to be brought forward to the public because they can't necessarily trust what I am going to say or that'll stick to their script.
I love it. Samantha, I want to say a big thank you for not only 10 years of friendship, but 10 years of amazing encounters, 10 years of trust, 10 years of stories, and 10 years of just being an amazing ambassador for what you do. You are truly one of the best out there in the field, and it's a shame that you're not an absolute star of this UFO universe. I know you shake your head, you're very humble, but in my world, you were one of the greatest. And thank you for coming back on Spaced Out Radio tonight.
Thanks, Dave. I totally appreciate it, and I appreciate your friendship too.
Absolutely. SamanthaMowat.ca is her website. You could go check it on out, and maybe she'll give you a reading. Who knows? Get her number and email right there. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Wow, did that fly on by? Wow.
Go to bed, Dave. Get some sleep.
I got to edit.
I'm sorry.
Somebody fucked up. No, I'm teasing.
I know. As soon as I said, I'm like, oh, timestamp, my bad. Sorry.
I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, did she? Oh, she did.
I totally did. I'm sorry. I hate giving you more work.
You know what? You know what's funny is before your children started playing hockey, I never heard you use the F word. Ever. And all of a sudden your kids start playing hockey and you're dropping F-bombs left, right, and center. I love it. Love it.
I try to keep work mode separate from like mom mode, but yeah.
I know.
I know. It's crazy. But you said you're in Nevada in 3 weeks?
We are going, so not this weekend, but the following weekend, I'm going to be in Nebraska for a big conference, and I've never been to
Awesome.
Nebraska, so I'm pretty excited
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
And from there,
Mhm.
I am about 10 days later,
Yeah.
we have our Reno fan party.
Exciting.
Yeah. So I'm pretty pumped up about our third annual fan party.
Yeah.
I know it's been tough for a lot of people this year
Yeah.
due to finances and the craziness of everything, and
Yeah.
so that's going to be tough on a lot of people who wanted to come, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, for those who are going to be there, we're going to put on a hell of a good show and a hell
Awesome.
of a great weekend.
Yeah.
And then right now, I think that's all I have for this year.
Okay,
Is
that's great, Phil.
So I have lots of time to go out in the forest and lots of time to
Yeah.
reconnect with my Sasquatch at my gifting site,
Yeah.
and and um, try and then our ghost tours start the first week of May, first weekend of May. So you got to come down for one of those.
I will. I'll look at what the rugby and baseball schedule's like, and then I'll come down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be good because the baseball season's only like 3 months long.
Yeah.
So and we're going right to Halloween night. We
Oh,
shut it down
perfect.
Halloween.
Yeah, I can probably come sometime in July, maybe early August.
Yeah.
I think my
Whenever.
kids are gone then. Yeah. So I'll do that. It'll be fun. Um, yeah, I'm brain dead. I'm normally asleep by now, so I'm letting you go. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, you go, girl. Thank
Night, dear.
you.
Sorry
We'll
for the
talk
extra
soon.
work.
Okay?
Bye. Sounds good.
Samantha Mowat, everybody. How awesome was that? That was amazing. Amazing. Can't believe it was 10 years ago I met her. Wow. Pretty cool. Pretty damn cool. Good way to start off the week. Who's here tomorrow? Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran are here. Yes, it's going to be fun tomorrow night. Hackmeister, you're brand new here. How did you enjoy that? Out of one yanking of Tim Mothman's goatee for bad, and 5 yankings of Tim Mothman's goatee for good. Tim's like, how did my goatee get involved in this? You leave that baby alone. Sovereign, I have an incredible schedule each week. Gamer Quest, how you doing, man? I might be able to, Sandra Kincaid. Are you working the night shift tonight, my dear? Where is that one? I think it's right there. that it?
Dave Scott.
Oh, nice. Nice. I'm turning up the pressure on mine tonight. It's felt like the last couple of nights felt like it's been like really hard to get air in. So I'm turning up my pressure tonight. I know. Just a little bit at a time. A little dab will do you. As Sandra Kincaid always says, people, just a little dab will do you. Get my hair cut on Wednesday, too. It's too long. I have one more. What's a piggy? Oh, pig pen, because you're a farmer. And I kept my beard trimmed. I like it the way it is right now. It's about as long as I'm going to keep it. So I'll be trimming it weekly now. I won't let it grow hastily anymore. I got to wash my stuff too. I used to have her, Marv, as a monthly guest, and then she got real busy. She usually comes on 3 or 4 times a year. I try and bring her on once every few months. And the other thing with Samantha that I like about her is if I ever have a guest bail, I can call her up immediately and with little notice and say, hey, this happened. Can you help me out? And she's usually really good with that. So that is something that I try not to take advantage of. I don't want to overwork her. And having 2 shows that sound the same each month is very tough. So, aloha, Dave. I have beards up here. If you need a beard, I have beards up here that we can send to you. All right, now this is the one we got to cut here because that's going to be right at the end. All right, so we start there. Perfect. And so that is 36, 40, 36. Four, 42, 41. Right in here. Hold on. 46, 48, 50. So it should start here.
I mean, that was a lot to take in the weekend, and that's completely understandable. I can only imagine the levels of cognitive dissonance that anyone would go through seeing a being like that and trying and having it unravel their reality. It is a lot.
It's very much a lot, and for a lot of people, And this is where, this is a perfect example
Yeah.
of where a lot of people can go into the field and
Mm-hmm.
talk tough and act
Yeah.
tough, but the minute that it's game on, they don't know what they are doing. They don't know how to react. And I'm not saying that I'm a professional at this, because,
No.
I get freaked out. That area freaks me out. Okay.
Yeah.
But for those people who are like, yeah, if I saw the alien, I'd have ran up to it. I would have done this. I would have done that. No, you wouldn't. You'd be crapping your pants trying to figure out where could you
Yeah.
go hide out of fear and embarrassment.
Well, I mean, I get where they're coming from. Like, you hear for anyone who's studying this subject, and you look at how all these people react to seeing ETs, and Dave, your reaction, or Travis Walton's reaction to fire in the sky, those beings, or any of the other people out there. And then you hear about people like me who will be like, "Oh, hi guys, how's it going?" and go hug the beings. They're like, either that girl's fucking crazy. And then you hear about people like me who will be like, "Oh, hi guys, how's it going?" and go hug the beings. They're like, either that girl's fucking crazy. Sorry, that girl's fucking crazy. That girl's crazy. Sorry, effing crazy. My bad. I made a little don't swear thing and I clearly ignored it. Travis Walton's reaction to those beings, or any of the other people out there. And then you hear about people like me who will be like, "Oh, hi guys, how's it going?" and go hug the beings. They're like, either that girl's crazy. Sorry, effing crazy. My bad. I made a little don't swear.
Oh crap. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that works. Cool. Wrong one. All right, everybody. Tomorrow night on the show, Preston Dennett, Dolly Saffron are here talking about UFOs and cryptids. Is there a connection? Can't wait to have them back on. Thank you tonight to Tim Mothman and his goatee, Von Patrick with 2, Toe Tag, Science Bob, Aloha Dave, Hackmeister, Moody Mongol, Pascal ×2, Jason, and W. David Page. Very much appreciate the love and support, guys. And we'll see you all tomorrow night. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, and give us a follow on our social media. We'll talk very soon, everyone. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.